together with dignity and compassion. Learn how you can help offer safety to the most vulnerable and fight for a more resilient future at oxfamamerica.org. Sponsored by Oxfam America.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage, no medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game.
That's the sound of James adding long-lasting Gain scent boosters to his laundry this morning. Several hours later, James sniffs the irresistible scent of Gain on his shirt. Gain. Several hours later, James has even caught the attention of his mother-in-law, and she never gives him attention.
Ooh, you smell amazing, James.
Oh, thanks, Mom. I love you too.
I never said that.
Add Gain scent boosters to your laundry. Add joy to your day.
Every now and then I rinse it out, and I need Downy rinse tonight, and I need it more. My kids rinse the bed and the smell never leaves. I don't know what to do, I'm always in the dark. The sweat and dead short smells like a dog park. Downy rinse it tonight.
Downy Rinse fights stubborn odors in just one wash. When impossible odors get stuck in,
Rinse it out.
That's the sound of James adding long-lasting Gain scent boosters to his laundry this morning. Several hours later, James sniffs the irresistible scent of Gain on his shirt. Gain. Several hours later, James has even caught the attention of his mother-in-law, and she never gives him attention.
Ooh, you smell amazing, James.
Oh, thanks, Mom. I love you too.
I never said that.
Add Gain scent boosters to your laundry. Add joy to your day.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that for Bree's car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Bree's car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy.
realistic. Turnovers, we're a low turnover team. I think one of the lowest in the league, so that hurt us. And then a lot of breakdowns defensively.
Why did you think the offense was as disjointed as it was leading to those turnovers?
My decision making. I thought their zone hurt us a little bit. Got us out of rhythm. We made some careless turnovers there. In transition, I felt like we made a couple of bad ones. So on the road, you have 20 turnovers. It'd be tough to win. That kind of explains the margin of victory.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of FanDuel. Are we at Code Red? 216-474-0092. That simple. Are we at Code Red right now? Dang, that was an embarrassment. Excuse me. It was another embarrassment.
It was the most recent embarrassment.
Of all the embarrassments we've been through, this was the most recent. It's that simple. 216-474-0092. I kind of want to leave the floor to you here because this is I think that we've talked about it here over these last few days where it's like, okay, are the Browns' problems, are they covering up for the miscues and bad play of the Cleveland Cavaliers? And I think a lot of people are like, yeah, we haven't really paid attention, but there's injuries. Well, there's this. And I got to tell you, I've kind of felt in the same way for a long time. And it's a long season, so you just don't want to be caught saying things you can't take back because it's a long year. The Browns are the Browns are the Browns. It's a short season. There's a lot of things. It's like, man, you kind of plant your flag. You kind of know. But when it comes to the Cavs, baseball's the worst of it. I mean, you can make yourself look like a true ass during baseball season. However, it's not about looking bad. It's about telling the truth of it. And what's the truth of it is that it's uninspired basketball. It's sloppy. DeAndre Hunter, you said it right before the show. How does he look?
He looks like he is disengaged.
Yes. Checked out, if you will.
Yes. And then what? He got benched? Like he got news of his benching yesterday?
And Jalen Tyson, I like Jalen Tyson a lot. And a lot of people were wondering. I had a tweet about Jalen Tyson a couple days ago. It's like, hey, man, he's tough. I like his skills. He's come along very nicely for this team. He's doing the things that you wanted for other guys that you had to jettison before, that you weren't able to get out of it. And a lot of the question was, well, does that make DeAndre Hunter expendable? And I'm like, yeah, I think in so many ways.
Here's the problem. I thought about this on my way in. The problem is Jalen Tyson has been a triumph. He has been awesome. He's a two-way player. He's got some athleticism. He's got some more range than they've had in a long time. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. You just added Jalen Tyson to the team that won 66 games last year. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, the problem is he's our third best player. And Oklahoma City has like 9 guys better than Jalen Tyson. Well, so that should tell you all you need to know about. And the Knicks have like 8 better players than Jalen Tyson.
I got to stop you right there. Oklahoma City, that conversation is off.
You're right.
It's
I shouldn't even reference
It's off the shelf, yeah. There's no Oklahoma City conversation yet until we're talking about flipping switches at some point here. The Knicks, I guess you can talk about the Knicks because they're in the East if you really want to, but really we got to talk about our own problems getting out of our own way. And I could blame it on injuries. I could try. I mean, Evan Mobley's hurt. Okay, Darius is playing through it. Well, apparently Darius is going to play through it the entire year or his entire career,
and you can
according
see
to Brad Doherty.
And you could see last night what that looks like, which is there are moments where you're like, oh, that looks like Darius Garland. Couple nice dribble moves, gets to a spot, hits a 3. Oh, nice no-look pass, being unselfish. Hey, that was nice. And then I watched the other 25 minutes, and it's him not getting back on defense, not providing any resistance because he has to choose. He has to pick and choose his spots. How is that going to work in the playoffs?
Not.
That's not going to work, guys. He's just going to get... The Charlotte Hornets picked on Darius Garland for the entirety of the game. Well, what do you think the good teams are going to do?
They pick on him for the entirety of the game.
And they can make him pay even more so than the Charlotte Hornets or the Bulls last night. I mean, again...
Well, it sounds to me like you're at Code Red.
I am.
We are at Code Red.
Last night. So again, where's our advantage?
Sound the alarm zone.
Where, especially with Mobley out, where's the Cavs' advantage? Where is it? The backcourt. Supposed to be. Right?
Okay.
2 max guys. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland.
You said the advantage. I took you literally. I'm like, I didn't know you were talking philosophical there because I'm like, what advantage? I don't know.
Well, the backcourt for the Chicago Bulls, Josh Giddey and Kobe White, you totally got outplayed by them. And so if your advantage is getting outplayed game to game, you got no shot. And the Cavs brass knows this. The decision makers know this. What do you think Dan Gilbert, who is, I saw it last year in the playoffs. He is active again. He is going to the games. He's paying attention big time. He's going to be somebody that in the first LeBron iteration, like, do you remember how hands-on Dan Gilbert was? And then over time when LeBron came back, it was like, hey, that's the deal. You come back, I'm stepping away. And then he had to manage, his situation, and so he stepped away completely. Well, he's back. How do you think Dan Gilbert is watching these games, feeling about the most expensive roster in the NBA?
Not good.
That is functioning in the quote unquote second apron.
Yeah, when we lose more, it becomes so stark where it's not like, oh, they're an expensive roster. No, they're the most expensive roster in the NBA. You are the Mets of the NBA right now. You've spent a lot of money, and you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
I think if you add in the tax, I saw a number.
If you add in the tax,
that they're spending $390 million this year.
392, I thought was the number. 394.
Oh my God, 392. The Browns cap liability was 303. They've gone $90 million over that. The dome is $2.4 billion. So if the Cavs spent this over the next 8 years, that's a dome.
Cavs are also
7 years.
That on a roster size of what? 12?
Yes.
The Browns at least are getting 50-something guys out of the deal.
Ask Stan Van Gundy. That's why we didn't win the cup. We got no hungry guys at the end of the bench who aren't making any money.
Right. Yeah, they're making too much.
That's why we didn't compete in the cup.
Maybe next year.
Didn't have anybody in the soup line begging for breadcrumbs. Damn it. That's why we can't raise a banner for the cup. Got to get in everything we can before we put it away, man.
I don't want to put it away. That's the problem.
I'm going to keep referencing the cup. If they're going to play basketball like this, I'm going to reference the cup a whole bunch so we can have some fun.
And Surfside sponsor the cup segment?
Ladies and gentlemen, at your Cavs Surfside update, brought to you by Surfside. The wonderful people at Surfside ask you to please enjoy responsibly. Cup.
So they've got the worst bench in the league statistically.
I'm going to miss that thing.
I think they're one of the worst three-point shooting teams, even though they're shooting the most. I get that some of that will improve, definitely, when they get Max Strus and Sam Merrill. But if the answer to your question
is Strus, Moose, and Sam Merrill, then you're not in a good place.
You're not in a good spot at all. You're not.
Donovan Mitchell was asked about it. Where the hell's that sheet? This is professional. Donovan Mitchell was asked about it. What are the Cavs lacking? And here is what his response is.
There's consistency, and the worst part is that it's there in spurts. I'd rather it not be there at all, to be honest, and I think that's what's tough. Being down in the fourth, then we decided to flip the switch. So I think it's the level of consistency. I think it's the biggest thing.
Could you blame it on the lineups? Because that turns into a blame on injuries. Can you do that?
I feel like
consistency. I mean, you've had how many different lineups have they had? They've had like
100.
over yeah.
But I feel like there's enough talent on this team to beat the Bulls last night. There's enough talent to beat that. I'm going to stick with this game the rest of the year. That Golden State game with that fans paid primo prices for, that had no Draymond, no Steph, no Jimmy Butler, and a lacrosse standout, and the lacrosse standout kicked your ass for 35 minutes, 40 minutes.
Pat, what's his name?
Pat Spencer.
Pat Spencer.
Whose brother was really good, too. And he's on Memphis. Two lacrosse players are just dominating the NBA this year. Do we have to do our power rankings on best athletes?
They didn't play basketball at Wisconsin lacrosse? They're actual lacrosse players?
That would have made sense. Do we have to power rank the level of athlete? I always had NBA number one. Does this prove that lacrosse now? Because they're setting their lacrosse players and they're taking over the NBA?
Number one. Darts.
Did you see what happened? There was a dart incident recently.
No.
They didn't turn their darts at each other.
Thank heavens.
Because I think responsible dart players know that their dart throwing hand has to be registered as a weapon.
Anywho, it was the worst power ranking we've ever done. And that's saying something.
Well, we're getting ready to power rank those.
Do I have to do a chart on the worst power rankings?
No.
That's where we're at. Kenny, as the
a dart
afternoon
chart.
show would say, we're down bad. We are officially down bad on the Cleveland Cavs.
216-474-0092.
Don't crash out on me, Ken.
Jeff in Lakewood, you're next up on the Fan. Hello.
What's going on?
Hi, Jeff.
All right, yeah, great point, man. I'm on Cavs Nation, man, and like Lima said, I'm just telling them, man, this is a broken team, man. This team is broken, like you said, unexpired, man. All you got to do is just watch them play. All you got to do is just watch them play, man. They just uninspired, man. There's so many guys not playing good, and I don't want to try to keep getting down on Kenny Atkinson, man. He one of the biggest problems, man, because you got guys come down shooting threes. Chicago coming down shooting threes. They walk you down. You steady shooting threes. You're not running no plays. You're not playing with no passion and no heart, no gut, man. You know what I'm saying? And we got to stop using the excuse for the team.
Do you think that Atkinson is the biggest problem, though?
Atkinson one is the problem, man. This guy, they take on the image of him, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't put all the blame on him, man. He cannot get through this team, man. You could just see it, man. Wait a
minute, he was the coach of the he was the coach of the year like 8 months, not even 8 months ago.
We're the city of coaches of the year.
He was the coach of the year, but that was last year, man. You know what I'm saying? They got him to try to take him to the next level. He ain't doing no better than
what could he have done to go from coach of the year and everybody loves him to now he's trash?
Maybe telling Lonzo Ball to not have the green light for perpetuity.
I think I think they're trying to find offense anywhere because you had Evan Mobley who every time he got the ball it was a pose off like he was doing the robot because he was unsure to do what he was unsure to do what he needed to do with the ball at the time, which I know that looked ridiculous what I just did on YouTube, but it was, you got a robotic guy who you're trying to get going, and so you got to have some scoring from somewhere. So yeah, and by the way, Lonzo, you pick him up, he can't drive the lane. You've said that before. He can't dribble because his knees are going to explode. So it's catch and shoot if he gets the ball.
Did you see last night, Jeff, did you see last night that Lonzo got to the rim and didn't even look at the rim? One of the few times he's at the rim. He threw it out to the three-point line.
Lima, say it again. You're right at the rim. I said he at the rim. He didn't even look at it.
Because he can't move. He can't move.
Another thing, I promise you, Dan Gilbert going to put his foot down because you can't, like Ken Carman said, you cannot, man, continue to use injuries as the excuse, man. The effort, this team is broken and fractured, man.
But I'll tell you this, Jeff. When you fired JB Bickerstaff, it's like, okay, this happens in the NBA, right. And I'm not trying to even use what JB's doing up in Detroit as an example. I know the Pistons are doing really well, right? But you get a mulligan with a coach. And when you let go of the coach, and then we're talking about getting rid of the next coach, I'm going, well, no, hold on here. Are we just going to fire coaches? Because they do that in the NBA all the time. But now I have to look at the players and go, what are you guys doing for this? And then I got to look above them and go, who put the roster together? It wasn't Kenny Atkinson.
And one last point. In Lima, you do the Cavs on the playoff post game you did last year.
For the 5 games that they had.
Yeah, I know. Look. This Christmas, when the Cavs play New York gonna blow them clean out the gym. And I'm telling you, watch this Christmas. And then you're gonna say the fans, they're gonna say
that's next Thursday, Jeff.
I have that to get excited about. That's Christmas Day spectacular.
They're gonna blow them out the gym Christmas. They're gonna blow them out the
Thank God I have a family now.
Jeff, thank you for the call.
Thank God I have a family.
What time's that game?
Do you know how sad?
Noon.
It's noon. Do you know how sad noon Christmas watching the Cavs would be getting slaughtered by the Knicks if I didn't have a family,
Kenny? I think you would love it if you didn't have a family. You would sit there and drink your bourbon, and that's all you would do. You wouldn't even care if they were getting hammered.
No, I'd be making my 5 stops. Instead of a bar crawl, I do a family crawl. I used to do that.
Well, you
those rocks.
Here you go, dear. Here's another rock. Now, where's the drinks?
That's not a bad gift.
You gave her a pet rock.
That
What
you
do you mean
paint,
that's not
and it comes with paint.
It's a terrible gift.
You can paint it however you want.
You can paint anything with paint. Don't give her rocks.
You could go out back and get more rocks when
That's
you painted
asinine.
the rocks that have been supplied. So it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Cavs are going to make me watch the NFL on Christmas, and I don't want to do it. Because I'm telling you right now, if they start getting hammered, I'm not going to stay there. I'm not going to put myself through the hell of it. I'm not going to hear my family members say it, and I'm just going to go, you know what? How about Washington and Dallas? Parumpa-pum-pum. That's what I'm going to do. I'll be in a bad mood, and then I get to go watch Dallas. Great. Christmas sucks this year.
We're not even going to get snow, are we?
Nope. It's going to be 40, and it's going to be 45. All this
It's gonna be
hot
gross
that you've
out.
already dealt with.
It's going to be gross.
It's just going to be wet and gross out.
Muddy.
And the Cavs are going to be like garbage against the Knicks. Oh, my God. Spike Lee's going to be out there probably in his Christmas tassels, Knicks stuff. This is going to be terrible. Terrible Christmas. Horrific. Enjoy that, Mason. This is the rest of your life, bud.
Is it going to be Johnny Bryant's team by then?
We'll talk about it with Joe Varden at 9. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Are you already
can't fire somebody on Christmas,
You damn sure can. Damn sure can. I mean, if Bob Cratchit wouldn't have showed up, if there weren't 3 ghosts that showed up on Christmas Eve, Bob Cratchit's ass was getting fired. Well, that was the day after Christmas because he was late. You remember?
If Dan Gilbert brings a stocking in for Kenny Atkinson, says open it up.
Somebody, real quick, I know we're already over.
there?
I'm sorry about this. Did you know somebody did a breakdown of what Bob Cratchit made, and they were like, actually, Bob Cratchit does really well. Somebody did a breakdown of what Bob Cratchit made on YouTube. Now, I believe everything I see on YouTube, obviously, but they were like, yeah, Bob Cratchit makes a lot of money. Fine living.
He does that well.
Yeah. All right. Are we overreacting? Did Jeff and Lakewood overreact? I'm going to get to you guys, 216-474-0092. Or is it code red? And who do you think needs an answer for this? Because I can only use Kenny Atkinson as an excuse so many times. I can only use coaches as an excuse so many times. Ken Carman, Tone Master General on The Fan.
92.3 The Fan.
doing whatever it takes. This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. Here we go, Brownies! Here we go! 92.3 The Fan. When you want the latest on the Cavs, we're the station you turn to first. 92.3 The Fan is Cleveland's home for breaking sports news. Your teams, your station.
So Joe Varden's going to join us at 9. Like, I'm not trying to get overly defensive of Kenny Atkinson. If he is the problem, I want to know more. But you fired JB, and I've always kind of felt bad about JB because I think when we know that the coach is about to get let go, we try to find problems with him. So, like, I remember the timeouts were a problem, plays after a timeout, the sets that they ran after timeouts were problems. There was a lot of things that I don't want to say we made up, but it's almost like you put too much on him. And there's things that when we talk about the Browns, it's like, hey, it ran its course. It might have ran its course with JB. Did it run its course with Kevin Stefanski? We've talked about it a bunch. I don't think it's ran its course with Kenny Atkinson, though, guys. Owen?
Well, I think we all kind of came to a conclusion it was time to move on from JB Bickerstaff at the time. The only reason I was really ready for it is because the Cavs, Kobe Altman, and Anthony Lima, they all told me that the roster's good. We don't need to change the roster. So obviously we needed to change something, and that was the coach, right? Well, we changed the coach, and it doesn't seem that it's gotten any better, and we still haven't changed anything to the roster, really, other than not bringing back Ty Jerome, which I guess,
that should not have been the linchpin for the entire season.
No. So what now, right? We're stuck in it now, and we can't get out of it. We're tires and mud that have lost their traction.
He's got a great point. Like, this is why I have to look higher than Kenny Atkinson. I mean, you could go ahead, fire Kenny Atkinson if you really want to start talking crazy. I think you'll probably still have there will probably be a kumbaya and some things would start well, but then I think you'd still have the same problems rearing their ugly head. But he's right. There were people when we were over there in that studio when they were redoing this. You remember some of the conversations we were having about the core four and breaking up the core four. And I remember when Kobe's like, they're keeping the core four and everything was fine. And that was a time where you really could make a move. Now it's like you're stuck. Like Jared Allen, I know everybody's like, we got to trade Jared Allen. They can't stand. You're not going to get any value back at Jared Allen at all. He still is better than his contract. So you're going to get less. You can make the money work with Jarrett, but you're going to get lesser players.
Yeah, you'd be taking a bath on a Darius Garland trade at this point, too. I know I saw stories out there that there are some NBA teams that think he could be their best player, and I'm like, who's putting that out there? His agent? Like, no teams think Darius Garland is their best player, especially now.
Anymore.
Right, especially
he's a good player, but good God.
Especially now with the injury and knowing that this is something that could plague him for not only this year, but beyond. By the way, I do have it here. And as far as the talent goes, Owen,
please.
The core four, the one thing I did think was, like, as much as I was openly talking about, hey, could we trade for Brandon Ingram? Would it make sense to move Garland for a wing that could get his shots off in the playoffs? And Brandon Ingram's having a really good year, by the way, for an overperforming Toronto Raptors team. I didn't think this would cost them in the regular season. Like, I thought the core four would, at the very least, win a ton of games in the regular season.
I agree with you. Jimmy Butler came up last year, and then they traded him, or whatever happened with him in the Heat, and now he's in Golden State. But I really wanted Jimmy Butler for a playoff run because he's a different animal, right? But I was willing to give up Garland then to try to get Jimmy Butler. Who knows what would have happened had that happened, but obviously.
Now there's just very little wiggle room. There's almost no flexibility because of the dreaded second apron. There have been recent coaches that have been fired the following season after winning Coach of the Year. Just shows you what people think of coaches in that league. Mike Brown in Sacramento won Coach of the Year, fired the next year. Monty Williams went to the NBA Finals and then got fired the following year. So Budenholzer twice Coach of the Year and fired the following year. So in that league where they just think anybody can just step up on the bench and move, one chair aside, it's certainly not unprecedented.
The thing that the Cavs have done most consistently for a decade is hire a new coach and hire the guy that was the runner-up in the coaching search as the head assistant and have him, Ty Lue to, JB Bickerstaff to now, is it Johnny Bryant?
Yeah. So it wouldn't be crazy.
You're just blaming things. All right, Kevin in Cleveland. Hello, Kevin.
Good morning, gentlemen. How we doing?
We're doing well, Kevin. Go ahead.
So I just think the whole Kenny Atkinson, I genuinely, I think he is a good coach. I mean, we were the best team in the East essentially the best team in the East last year, until it mattered, obviously. But I just think that's more so on the players. I think I would like to see what happens after the All-Star break. I know we kind of got a decent break there because of the NBA Cup that I know.
I'm sorry, Kevin. The what? The what again?
The good old NBA Cup, gentlemen.
Thank you. I'm going to use it every time I can. Go ahead. Continue.
I know that they kind of got a break because they weren't necessarily in the Cup. So I know they already got a break. I would like to see what happens during the All-Star break, to see if they actually can, change a couple things around and, I don't know, maybe flip the script a little bit and start playing like they were last year. But again, it's not looking too great for our Cavaliers.
Well, the only things I think you can get is I think it's kind of fringe fill-in type of things, Kevin. Thank you very much for the call. Like, I know that there's been conversation again that popped up online, and I just really think it's online fodder for like Darius Garland. Okay, that would be a major move, obviously, but again, because of your contract situation, your second apron, there's very little that you can actually do. And I think they're kind of stuck with it because Jared Allen, I think, would be, Darius Garland and Jared Allen would be the first two. Just said it earlier in the segment. Jared Allen has overperformed his contract. You're not going to get a lot of value back from that. With Darius Garland, you're making a serious conversation. You're having a serious conversation about your future. So if I try to calm down a little bit, and I say, is Evan Mobley going to come back at any level? What's his level going to be? Or are we going to be watching this the entire? Like, there's so many ways that I just don't know if you're getting out of it. What are they doing wrong that they did right last year with basically the same group? You can move DeAndre Hunter, but what are you going to get back in return that's going to make that big of an impact? Because they are taking on water big time here, Tone.
Sometimes kind of roster will just it'll kind of unfold and tell you things just based on how they play. Like last year, there was a connectivity with all of these guys that they feasted on vulnerable opponents. They knew every time they were going in the gym that they were going to kick your ass every single time. The way they played. Remember, Ty Jerome would hit those threes at the end of a Cavalanche, and they would be clowning their opponents. Everybody's doing that to us now. And they're not even good teams. Bad teams are doing this to us. On how many nights? How many nights have we been down? 17 seems to be that magic.
Too many damn nights.
It's like, how the Browns, it was, can they score 17?
Right.
In the NBA this year for the Cavs, bad teams have had 17-point leads against us in the third and fourth quarter consistently. Now, we came back and won the Wizards game because the Wizards are like openly trying to lose. But it's been every single night. I think we got down 17 again last night. That just shows you, like, this team is fatally flawed. And Max Strus and Sam Merrill, yeah, they might help you win some games. That is
fatally flawed.
Yeah, that is not going to change, your overall ceiling and everything. If you are on a nightly basis getting outplayed by bad teams with young players, it shows you something is toxic in the water. It does.
Ross Tucker said something that might unlock the future of your Cleveland Browns. That's at 6:43 on the Fan. Extend Technologies in Broadview Heights. You have a situation here with Extend that you could make yourself so much better because the situation is this. You spend $2,000 or more between now and December 31st, so you only got a few days left. You better get on over there. XTENDAV.com. You spend $2,000 or more with Extend Technologies, my friends. If it snows 8 inches or more in Cleveland on February 8th, 2026, big day. Not going to tell you which day, but I think you know. Coming up on February 8th, 2026, not very far away. If it snows 8 inches or more in Cleveland, you're going to get it back. You're going to get whatever you buy free. So you buy a brand new TV, you want a brand new 4K or 8K OLED, you get that for free. You want to start a smart home system, doesn't matter. You get
Behind every statistic is a person who needed someone to stand up and fight or to lend a helping hand. Hurt in a car? Call KNR.
The college football playoff is set, and the Buckeyes are on the path to repeat as national champions. Whenever you need to talk college football, we've got you covered. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Ross Tucker might have just unlocked what the Browns do in the future, or you might get to tell me I'm nuts here. Ross Tucker was on Afternoon Drive with Nick and Jonathan, and here is what Ross Tucker said about the futures of Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. Hit it.
I would guess that is probably trending towards Berry stays and Stefanski's gone, because I just don't think you can have some of these performances that they've had down the stretch and feel necessarily good about the coaching job that Stefanski's done. And you guys know I think he's a good coach, and I think there's a pretty, better than decent chance that if the Browns fire him, he'll get hired again right away. But I would guess there hasn't been enough growth, enough improvement. The performance has been bad enough that I would think that Haslam would be leaning Stefanski out and keep Berry, in large part because the trade with the Jags looks really good right now, and the rookie class looks really good right now. And I'm not sure I would want to mess with that with these draft picks coming up. I'd probably want Andrew to be making those picks again.
Do you want me to ask you a question, or do you want me to share the theory first?
Share the theory.
My theory is if you keep Berry, you are less likely to take a quarterback in the early first round. Would you like me to show my work?
I might agree with you.
Oh.
But go ahead. Yeah, show it.
I think that you're still looking long-term, which is weird because they hired Berry after Stefanski, but again, this was all with the Paul DeBodesta in charge, and now he's over in Colorado. Stay there, please. Don't come back. If you keep Berry, you're thinking more long-term. If you keep Berry, you're thinking more, how do I go about building this? You're not acting as you're not throwing everything out. To bring in another general manager would be, quote unquote, basically throwing everything out and starting all over again. Now, you wouldn't have to throw everything out because the last draft's been good. Now, Jimmy may look at the last draft and go, the last draft is pretty good. And the last draft is pretty damn good, even though some people are questioning Quinshon Judkins. And I want to ask Mary Kay that question coming up at 8:20 this morning, whether or not it's fair or not. But I think you're less likely to do it. I think a new general manager who comes in with the Cleveland Browns knows the clock is ticking, and you better do what you can do because this owner is obsessed with getting a quarterback. You better do what you need to do to get yourself a quarterback. But if Andrew Berry stays, you could see a scenario where even if they weren't keeping Shador or whatever, that Kevin Stefanski goes. But if Andrew Berry stays, it makes me think, all right, maybe they're not going to just take a QB. If they get number one overall, maybe the decision is made for them, and we'll have audio to that later on in the show. But if they're at 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that, if Andrew stays, I think you may stick with what you have, or you might try to bring in a cheaper veteran from somewhere else.
Well, that's quite the quandary. I remember Albert Breer saying earlier this week on the afternoon show that, whether or not he'd keep assistants or whatever, and Breer was like, whether certain assistants could stay like Jim Schwartz. He's like, well, it depends on the type of coach you hire. If you hire a strong, proven head coach, well, he's going to come in, he's going to bring his own guys. He's had a whole career of working with certain guys that he's just going to have his own guys. So say goodbye to Jim Schwartz, say goodbye to, Tommy Reese if he didn't want to be here or wouldn't take a college job, whatever. That would be your situation. Well, would that same thing apply to the quarterback room? Meaning, if you hired a strong coach, proven coach, he would say, oh, thank you, Andrew Berry, for your suggestions. I need my quarterback
That's
room.
A possibility, yes.
And then would Andrew Berry even still be here?
But who's the guy?
So could he hire a strong coach?
Who's the guy who's real? Oh, geez, you didn't even make me think of that. I didn't even realize that. Because offensively, some of the names, I think a lot of people are going to want a former coach. Offensively, a lot of the names are first-timers.
So here's what I mean. If you brought in somebody, and you're right, who are those guys?
There is one, but he's not going to be very popular with the fans.
But whatever. Who is it?
Arthur Smith.
Oh, okay. Well, my guess would be if you brought in that guy that Albert Breer would be talking about, a strong coach, he's not going to come into a situation where the quarterback room is a competition between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. That's not happening.
The new head coach doesn't want to do that.
The new head coach, that is not happening. It would have to be, I don't want to say puppet because that's not fair, but a young, up-and-coming a coordinator as the head coach.
Then the way you're describing it, then it's either both of them or none of them.
That's kind of how I feel.
You know what? I think that's the way you're saying it because I think Owen's agreeing. Owen's nodding yes. Sorry, I don't mean to call you out. Maybe you didn't want that on the air. But Owen's agreeing because I think that you want to get the fans back on your side. This is not going to... Whether they take a quarterback or don't take a quarterback, guys, or keep Shedeur in there or don't or whatever, this ain't going to happen next year. They're not going to be a Super Bowl contender next year. This is going to be a couple-year process. And I'm not begging for time here. You got to get it going. But it's going to take a minute. You want the fans back on your side and have some understanding there. And if you leave Andrew Berry in and you let go of Kevin, what Lima just said is in the back of everyone's heads now, and then it just goes to the forefront. When you have that initial press conference and you bring this guy in, okay, are we just throwing the fans a bone and you just hired another? You use the term puppet. They'll use the term. It's okay. I don't know. You're not saying it to be mean. You're saying it to be honest. Fans will call the guy a puppet, especially when you go out there and don't win games because you probably won't be expected to win games next year. So they'll just call him Andrew Berry's puppet. You're right. So how's that seem?
Like the best shot, if you're a Shedeur fan and that's what you care about the most, and you want Shedeur because you feel like he hasn't been given a fair shot here, which, by the way, he hasn't, but, the NFL's not fair. Not always fair for everybody. But if you're like, well, you need more games to evaluate him, just this run at the end of the year with that offensive line, all that stuff, your best shot would be for them to fire Stefanski and keep Tommy Rees, right? And elevate him to the head coach. It probably is your best shot. If you were
Barry, I don't think
I'm saying your best shot to have Shedeur be have solid footing going into next year as a chance to have to be the starting quarterback.
But you could be if you're the number 2 or number 3 team. Like again, and we're hearing from people about how great Mendoza is, and we're going to find out more, right? But maybe you hire up Brian Flores. Brian Flores, hey, if you know anything about the guy's a certified hard ass. And maybe Brian Flores looks at it and goes, great suggestion, Andrew. We're going to do it my way now. You could always do that. Perception isn't always reality. But if you hired a guy like that who's been through the trenches and the wars of what's going on in the NFL, and you go, we're bringing this guy in. He knows defense, but he will delegate, do well with offense, this, that, and the other, whatever you got to say. And you could keep Andrew there, and I would probably feel different going, boy, I don't think that Brian Flores in his second time around, especially with the Browns, is just going to sit back and let everybody else pick his players for him. Now, you're right. I don't know if that new head coach is going to go into the season and thinking, this is my quarterback room, but there might be moves you could be making because if you don't believe in any of the other QBs there, then maybe I'll just go ahead and I'll have Shedeur and Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel and maybe Mac Jones or whoever else you could think. I mean, people brought up Davis Webb and some of the other names. Like, some of these names aren't that great. Mac Jones is a big name or a bigger name, but like those are the possibilities. That's why I said yesterday, like, everything's on the table. But you're right. If they let go of Kevin and you bring in a Clint Kubiak, his history tells you because of who his father is, he knows how all this goes. But that's going to be in the back of people's minds. Because if he's just here, is it just more of the same? Because then you would just... This ain't going to make anybody happy. I'm going to get cussed out for this. If you're just going to do this, then just leave him there. Leave Kevin there. And just have the fans have it out with him instead of bringing a new guy in, not winning a lot of games next year, not having a quarterback, and then putting him behind the 8 ball. Or putting him in a position that he's got to still build this team around Shedeur because you still got a lot of work to do. And it's not all going to be fixed this offseason. 216-474-0092. Well, you just heard Ross. Is just letting go of Stefanski good enough for you? Could you see a scenario? Could you keep Barry if they were to let go of Kevin Stefanski? 216-474-0092. And coming up in a bit, you remember Fix My Life? I got to bring it back because I got to ask you guys. I need some help with something here. Ken Carman, Tone Master General, live on the Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for DriveClassic.com. The power is yours when you go to DriveClassic.com or any
franchise. I think sometimes you get to a point where things are so tangled up that it just gets to the point where maybe it's time for a clean break.
Listen for the MMQB's Albert Breer, Tuesdays at 5:20 on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
There's a lot of ins and outs and what have yous with what Ross Tucker said yesterday on Afternoon Drive. I want you guys to hear this because if this ends up being true, this unlocks a lot of what you're going to do as a franchise and what you're going to do with the most important position, and that includes Shedeur, Deshaun Watson, possibly quarterback X out of the draft.
I would guess that is probably trending towards Barry stays and Stefanski's gone, because I just don't think you can have some of these performances that they've had down the stretch and feel necessarily good about the coaching job that Stefanski's done. And you guys know I think he's a good coach, and I think there's a pretty, better than decent chance that if the Browns fire him, he'll get hired again right away. But I would guess there hasn't been enough growth, enough improvement. The performance has been bad enough that I would think that Haslam would be leaning Stefanski out and keep Barry, in large part because the trade with the Jags looks really good right now, and the rookie class looks really good right now. And I'm not sure I would want to mess with that with these draft picks coming up. I'd probably want Andrew to be making those picks again.
Well, I think it's so much more than that, because it was, I thought if you keep Andrew Barry, there's a much higher likely scenario here if you don't end up with the number one overall pick, which I think they're at 19% right now, last time we checked. But if you don't end up with the number one pick, it's very likely you'll leave it the status quo when it comes to the quarterback room. And then we go into 2026 with Shedeur and Deshaun, and maybe there's a competition. Maybe they battle it out. I'm not sure. But you had brought up another scenario where I think that a lot of fans are going to feel this way if it goes this way. Say you move on with Barry, you keep, or say you move on with Kevin Stefanski, you keep Andrew Barry. The type of coach you get is going to be very important. If you get like a first-timer, younger offensive guy, or if you were to just put Tommy Rees in there like you had just said, I think a lot of people are just going to, they're going to use the P word, man. They're going to say puppet, because they're probably not going to be good next year. And when you start losing games and people are watching these games, I can guarantee you we will be getting puppet tweets at like 2:30 on a Sunday afternoon if things ain't going well.
Well, regardless of who, and I know Owen's got a name that I'm interested to hear, but if they go into next year and it's a quarterback competition between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, I don't care who they draft. I don't care if it's Carnell Tate. I don't care the best offensive lineman, with their first pick and then with the Jacksonville pick or whatever they do. They get a big-time wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Either way, I mean, they're going to be, their win total next year in Vegas is going to be 4.5, 5.
I said 2 or 3.
Well, yeah, but the win totals are never that low, right? Like the lowest win totals are always 4.
Yeah. You're Vegas, 4.5. So it's always a half, so 4.5. Yeah.
What is that going to, do Browns fans understand that? the only way that win total is going to be anything different is if they get a bridge quarterback, right? And even then, maybe they'll boost their floor. If they got Mendoza, they might still be expected to be pretty bad, but I think there'd be more optimism around the league, probably because he's the top-rated quarterback.
Yeah. But I don't think a lot of people are, as of right now, I think some people are warming to the idea that, hey, if you get the number one overall pick, let's talk. Let's see. But if you don't get the number one overall pick, maybe if you're 2, but if you're like 3 or 4, it's like, well, do I really want to give up all this when I have all these holes? Or do I really want to draft Dante Moore when I have all these holes? Now, we got months to talk about that. But going back to your head coach conversation, that's a big deal. I could see if Tommy Rees goes in there, I think the P word's going to be thrown around. I think that's the way a lot of people, I'd like to give him a chance, but we'll see.
Well, I've got one for you, Ken.
What do you got?
That isn't a puppet. This is the problem that Andrew Barry will face if he ends up staying and they get rid of Kevin Stefanski, right? Mm-hmm. And it made me start doing a little background investigation, and Andrew Barry's not hard to do a background check on, right? He's been with the Cleveland Browns his whole career, except for 1 year he was in Philadelphia, right? And on that coaching staff, there was a defensive coordinator named Jim Schwartz. That's not the guy, though, right? There was also Deuce Staley was a part of that coaching staff. He was the head assistant coach, right? The assistant head coach, whatever that was, running backs coach. The head coach of that team was Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson has the Super Bowl. Doug Peterson has the offensive mind, right? Played quarterback in the NFL. He was brought into Jacksonville to, change things with Trevor Lawrence. His career was going downhill, and that didn't work. But Doug Peterson's a guy that Andrew Berry has experience with when he was in that football operations job, vice president. And he's also a guy that's won a Super Bowl, is a strong-minded head coach, is a guy that's might not blow him out, might not publicly throw him under the bus, won't be seen as a puppet at all.
He's only 57.
He's only 57
Which is pretty
years old.
crazy. And
he's not on that little list that you have in your
He
envelope.
is not on the list.
You might want to reopen the list.
I thought you were saying Deuce Staley, and I was like, okay, that might be interesting. And then when you said Doug Peterson, I think the people watching on YouTube probably saw my face. I'm not really excited about that possibility.
I can understand that. I was very excited. If I was a Jacksonville Jaguars fan 3 years ago or whenever they brought him in 4 years ago, I would have been very excited. I was excited to see him with Trevor Lawrence, and it didn't work out, right? But that's a guy that I think is a winner. I think Doug Peterson is a winner.
Now, hold on, though. Hold on. I wouldn't. Is Shador your starting quarterback going into next year?
I don't know.
Okay, because that matters. Because if Doug Peterson couldn't get it going with Trevor Lawrence, now I think Trevor Lawrence is overrated.
Yeah,
but it's like, dude, you couldn't get Trevor Lawrence to play to a higher level.
Right.
Meanwhile, I got Liam Cohen having him play at a higher level. What? I don't know if I trust you with Shador.
But Doug Peterson's also a guy that you go, hey, Andrew Berry can go, hey, I've got this young guy, Tommy Rees. He at least has some play calling that looks like it's working with Shador. Hey, let's keep him in that offensive coordinator role.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that are possibilities. I didn't say it's something that I liked or that I wanted Doug. I'm not standing on a hill for Doug Peterson right now.
It's an idea.
I'm just saying when I start reading tea leaves and connecting dots, that's one that doesn't not make sense to me.
He wouldn't be on my list, and I would not want him to be, because I don't like to fight you on things.
And I'm not doing a list of guys that I want or don't want. This is guys that I think make sense and are probable.
Man, I think that it would be just a tough sell, especially where you have all these things that have been said about Kevin Stefanski over these last few months, and then you go to Doug Peterson. I'd be like, man, I'm trying to get to see whether or not Shador has it.
My thing
or
is, he was 9-8.
Even Watson or anybody.
He was 9-8 first year in Jacksonville, 9-8 the second year in Jacksonville. So they went to the playoffs once those 2 years, and then it fell apart. That following year is 4-13.
I mean, the way you make it out to sound, I remember those press conferences well, because those were just. You think Kevin's press conferences are bad? These were right about there. I think that's going to be a tough sell to fans, and this is part of the reason why I think it's going to be very hard to not get rid of both of them.
Why does Andrew Berry care about selling to fans? He cares about selling to Haslam.
Well, I think the Haslams don't care about selling to the fans because, you know what?
Haslams don't care about selling to fans if they keep Andrew Berry here.
Forget the fans. Think about this. You got to sell to me. Say I'm Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy's a fan. Say I'm Jimmy.
Yeah.
Well, you're telling me this quarterback
Did you see that Super Bowl with Nick Foles? Won the Super Bowl.
There's been other guys who won Super Bowls that I wouldn't bring in.
With a career backup.
Nick Sirianni won a Super Bowl. His job's always that close to being let go.
Not with a career backup.
Not with a career backup.
Jimmy. I'm going to get Doug. I'll see you later, Jimmy.
So is this guy just going to end up being a career backup? Because then I got to talk to Barry about it. Because if you're trying to sell me on Doug Peterson over here, I think there's going to be other things that I'm going to be excited about, other people I'm going to be excited about. Because if you're telling me we're not going to win, then it's just going to be more of the same. So I'm going to have this coach.
Why would Andrew Berry be telling them they're not going to win? Andrew Berry constructed the roster, right? Andrew Berry is
He's just got to be honest.
Right. Andrew Berry, the only reason he'd be staying here is because he's saying, I've already built guys that can win. I've already got guys in here that can win. We're missing a piece now.
I'm sorry. I respectfully respectfully disagree. There is
You're
no
making
way
me fight a battle that I don't want to fight because I don't want to keep Andrew Berry.
That's our lives together, my friend. I don't want. If you're Andrew Berry, there is no way you can look somebody. Look at this roster. There is no way you can look anybody in the eye unless you are an Anthony Lima type of slippery wizard and tell them that you're going to win football games next year. No.
Ken, there's no way you can look anybody in the eye and go, the roster that I've spent 6 years building is not good enough, and keep your job. How do you do that, Ken?
You
How
can
do
only
you
be
walk into
honest.
Keith's office every day and go, it hasn't worked for 6 years, but it's going to work in year 7. Just let me blow it up and
because you
rebuild
have
it again.
to be honest.
You're not living in reality, Ken. That's not how the world works.
So
you
he's
don't
gonna
say the things I just spent 6 years doing doesn't work, but let me keep doing it.
But if he was going to do it, look at the run.
Ken, you're losing this battle.
How can I lose the battle? It's
You're
not
losing
realistic.
right now. You
How many
keep
games
on circling back to the same thing.
How many games do you think
I
are
just
going to win
told
next
you
year?
what he did. He's for 6 years built a roster, and he's got to convince the Haslams that roster works.
There's no convincing.
And then he can manage the quarterback
See
room.
ya, Andrew. Then this.
I'm
right,
not
we're in
arguing
a
for him to stay.
I'm not arguing for him to stay either. We're in a hypothetical right now.
What are we arguing about? Because
we're doing an exercise in sports talk radio.
How
man.
could I look at him? Like I brought it up before. How could I do it? You can't do it. You can't look somebody in the eye.
Then see ya.
Then I
we
guess
having
see
a
ya.
moot conversation.
Then I
Ken.
guess we are because there's
Well,
good for
then
that's
you.
it.
We've got Karastan month coming up, and it's time to talk about it.
There's just no way. So basically, do we just all come to an agreement in a roundabout way that they both got to go if they're going?
Obviously, I've been on that train for a while. Owen's been on that train. The problem is that I don't think they want to do that. I don't think they want to bounce everybody. I think they want to convince themselves after a good rookie class, after being able to draft Carson Schlesinger and Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, Harold Fannin, and then we still don't know about the quarterbacks. We just don't know. It's just far too early. I know certain people have made up their mind.
He better be happy. He better be thankful the guy down in Tampa has a hurt wing and he's playing badly. Because if he were still playing the way he was playing the first couple of months of the season, I mean, this is this is already not very smart. This is a downright stupid conversation altogether. But Ross says it, and I think a lot of people agree with Ross, that it could be one or the other. It probably won't be both. And it's more likely to be Kevin who goes and not Andrew, which I don't think that's going to satiate a lot of fans because I don't think a lot of fans trust Andrew. True or untrue?
Some have started saying, if they like Shador, they're like, he took Shador. They want to make it work with Shador because they know the writing's on the wall. If everybody's out, Shador's out.
Did he take him? I have to speak or the alarms will go off. But
It's on his resume of draft picks.
Okay. All righty. Coming up at 8:20, Mary Kay Cabot joins us on the show because that might be an argument that I might have if I were the owner of the team going, oh, it was you, was it? About last night, coming up in just over 20 minutes. Coming up in just about 5 minutes. Let's not confuse Kevin and Kenny. And before that, I need some help about my son and his friend. For one day only, I have to bring back Fix My Life because I got to get this figured out because I have a weird type of balance that has to happen here about the Christmas season. Ken Carman, Tone Master General, live on The Fan.
is hoping to improve.
I just got to play better. I just cannot make those costly turnovers, and have the expectation to win.
Browns back to practice AM for Sunday's game of the stadium. They're going to take on the Buffalo Bills. Don't miss the Kevin Stefanski Show, followed by Thursday Night Football, Rams and Seahawks. All begins tonight at 7 o'clock right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Let me bring back Fix My Life for just a few moments here. It's been a long time since we've done it. People have asked for it. I can't believe it. Lima and I got tired of it, and we're like, to hell with it. We'll get rid of it. And now it's one time only. I got a situation here.
Sometimes you just need a fix.
FML, my life.
My life.
FML,
Fix My Life.
Kenny, what do we do?
Fixing lives.
My life.
So my son has a friend. They're in middle school. I'm not going to call it a girlfriend. Her a girlfriend. I'm not going to say it. He's got a friend. And I met her. She's cute and she's very nice. Very nice. I haven't met the dad yet. My wife met the dad. She met both of them. I only got to meet the mom. Mom's very, very, very nice. And my issue is that tomorrow's the last day of school. And they've been, I don't know, do you call it together, Owen?
Going steady?
Know. Because my kids come home
courting.
When they were especially that age and go, so-and-so's dating so-and-so. And I go, oh, yeah, where are they going? Nowhere. Then they're not dating. How do they date? Well, they FaceTime.
Oh,
Or they play, Minecraft together or whatever, Roblox.
He has answered the phone on speaker and be like, hello. And it's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, oh, take that in the other room.
So he's changing the voice, the inflection.
They do the boyfriend-girlfriend voice. Yeah. And I'm like, oh.
That's how you know. They're being a little mysterious around the parents, too.
I'm like, go and, what are you going to get her for the holiday? And it was like this. I don't know if I want to say it just in case. I don't know what the situation is about, going to, I don't want to give it away.
Get back. Yeah.
So the gift, I didn't know it was pre-order. I thought I had to just go to the store and pick it up and that was it. No, it's pre-order. It won't be here till January. And I'm like, well, that's not going to do me any good or him any good for it. He's got to have something in his hand tomorrow. Or this is yesterday, so I'm like, he's got to have something in his hand on Friday. And I'm going, what do I do? Do I just get... So my issue is, do I get a Christmas card, put the receipt in there or something, or what do I get for the money? You can't just give her a card and say thanks and a handshake. What do I do? Do I get a gift card of some sort as well? How much do I want to spend on a intermediate school quote unquote girlfriend? I don't know if Lima can help.
I think Owen, I want to hear.
I think our veteran can help me.
He's been through this.
I think it's time that you, as you will many times in young Axel's life, teach him a lesson that maybe it's time that Dad stops fighting your battle for you, because it sounds like you're pretty. I don't know that. This is not your deal, man. This is Axel's deal. He's got to figure that out.
Well, but he can't go to the store.
And I'm sure it's happened to you before, but there's so many things in life that you're going to make suggestions to him to do, and he's going to go, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because X, Y, Z. And you go, but this is how my generation did it.
Fair.
Why aren't you doing that? Believe me, son, in my years of learning, I've learned this is the easiest route, and he's going to go, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but I don't even know what that generation's going to end up doing.
Well, exactly. But you've got to. I think you're trying to fight a battle for your son that maybe you've ran down this road before, and you don't want to back into that. But when you start buying extra gifts to make up for the lack of the one gift,
well, you got to have something in your hand. You just can't hand him something for the future.
Well,
after Christmas, here comes something.
Hold on, he's made some of his own money.
Yeah.
Yet?
Oh yeah. He picks up the crap in the front yard.
So. Can't he show his affection or his friendship by going somewhere with you or with mom and picking something out and paying for it on his own?
I just don't know if it's going to line up time-wise.
So you missed that window already.
It's easy if I just, on my way home tonight, just stop at Giant Eagle and go, here's a gift card.
Because I think it would mean more, even at her young age, to her and the parents for sure, that you could tell when it's something he picked out, he paid for, rather than you picked out, you paid for.
And then again, they're young enough. I don't even know if it matters.
It doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter, but if he wants to go above and beyond, and this means this much to him.
It's because I'm just like, you can't show up empty-handed. You either do it or you don't.
How about a candy bar?
Candy bar?
They're 10.
Here's a Twix.
How about a movie? Will you allow them to go to a movie together?
I don't know if she's got a peanut allergy. That's a whole thing.
It's 10 years old. Would you allow?
I just don't want to take kids to a movie.
Oh, and is 10 years old? Is that old enough where you can drop them off in a movie together and come back and pick them up?
No.
Really?
No.
That's not old enough. Are you crazy?
Why not?
10?
Why not?
For a million different reasons. Do you want to help him with this?
No.
It's a public setting.
Exactly. I'm
10?
Yeah,
That's someone else's kid. I got to look after the other person's kid
10 years
too,
old
man.
is old enough for you to go.
You go to the movie with them.
You can go over to their house, or they can come over to your house and maybe be in the open air while I'm in a adjacent room.
What about
but 10
you?
years old is not old enough to drop them off in public.
Okay, you take them to the movie, and you pay for the movie,
and maybe sit in a different row.
Yeah,
I could get with that.
What movie? All the President's Men?
Not Human Centipede.
Dave in North Ridgeville, you're first up on the Fan.
Sorry, you made me laugh there with that movie reference.
Of course.
It's one of our favorites.
Hey, guys.
Holiday classic.
This is just my opinion, but we went through this. I've got a freshman daughter.
Okay.
Her boyfriend is a pretty avid baseball player. He's pretty committed, so she wanted to get him a kinetic arm. That's pretty expensive. So, but for us, I said, okay, for the lesson part, it's just like, all right, you got to go half. You got to commit. But and she did. But I think for you and for your son, it's about the reputation. It's about who you're building up there to release out to the world. If he wants to do something, big and he needs your support financially, I'd do it. I mean, you get few moments in life to help him out on his journey.
I'll spot him the money. That ain't a problem. I'm just saying is that I just say he can't show up empty-handed.
No, he can't do that. He's got to come big though. That'd be my recommendation.
I mean, I'm already in it. I don't know how much that thing is.
What I wouldn't do, I wouldn't say show up tomorrow with something as a replacement for the thing that's on order, and then in January go, oh, here was this stuff that I was supposed to give you in
but
Christmas.
It's like,
I think you hold on to that and hope that relationship continues.
Yeah,
really?
The kinetic arm didn't come in time for the birthday, so it became kind of birthday Christmas.
Hey, there's a February date that's pretty important too.
Oh,
that's true.
That's right. Good thinking. Thank you, guys. Dave, thank you.
Thanks
thank
for
you,
reminding
Owen.
me.
We did that.
Thank you. Great call.
We talked that out.
Damn, Sam. That's a great idea.
You know what my anniversary
is? You fixed my life. Your anniversary is in February.
No, it's just...
is it?
No, it's not. But it's always nice to get those helpful reminders.
When is your anniversary?
It's in June.
No, how I remember it, it's the area code for Austin, Texas.
I don't know what the area code
Neither
is.
do
for
I.
Austin,
I have to
Texas.
look it up all the time.
What are you
That's
doing?
how I remember it.
Sensational ass.
I think it's May.
My wedding anniversary is August 19th. The anniversary we started dating, New Year's Day. New Year's Eve. It was a beautiful night.
I can remember mine. I remember yours, Lima, as the engagement was sometime when it was colder because there was
snow and chalk.
And the wedding was sometime when it was warmer because it was outside.
And I was standing behind him with a shotgun. 216-474-0092. Mary Kay Cabot just at 8:20 this morning.
That's when Bernie contacted me for your background.
Guys, let's not confuse Kevin and Kenny here, because we're gonna have Joe Varden coming up at 9:00 this morning. There's been a lot about Kevin over the last how many weeks? Obviously, right? I mean, we're getting down to nut cutting time at the end of the season. I think he's safe to the end of the season. You and I have just commented on that. I just think Chicago, guys, it couldn't have been any worse. It couldn't have been any more embarrassing. It couldn't have been any more shipshaw of what we've ever seen. None of it. It was so bad. And if he's still there and that coaching staff is still there, that's it. I don't want to confuse our feelings for Kevin and what's gone on, our arguments for Kevin with Kenny Atkinson. Now, both guys are a coach of the year, and I think that's almost become a scarlet letter for a lot of folks out there in Cleveland if a guy is a coach of the year. It's almost used against him now. Kenny Atkinson's a coach of the year just last year. The Cavs were terrible last night, and they've been bad for most of the season. They've been really bad here over the last week. And I'm just not going to say, if Kenny Atkinson's a real problem, I need to see more evidence than just Chris's article or even these losses, because I give you your mulligan in JB Bickerstaff. Regardless of what JB's doing right now, I gave you your mulligan. Now I have to look in your direction going, you're the most expensive roster in the NBA. You're the most expensive roster in the NBA.
When are you going to act like it?
What are you guys doing? What are the guys around him going to do? Because as somebody tweeted earlier to us today, and I wish I could see it, but it was an hour ago, is you guys went from chains and what did they wear?
The junkyard
dog chain, and you guys went from all this fun and everything's hunky-dory and everything's great to now there's expectations, now there's like real pressure on you, and you guys have all not Donovan as much, nor not Donovan at all, but the other guys, you guys have all faltered. And I go, maybe it's not Kenny. Kenny wasn't here for when this roster was really put together. Maybe if you want to sit there and blame Kobe, but I got to look at the guys in uniform now. I'm not going to sit there and just rip on Kenny and say, if you fire Kenny, everything's going to be fine again.
Well, and they're not really adjusting to their own struggles. So this part might be coaching, which is they are taking the most three-pointers in the league. They have the third worst percentage on threes. And I know we've done that with Kevin Stefanski. You go for it the most, but your conversion rate is, there have been some years where it's been in the bottom. But that's a little bit different now because all the coaches are going for fourth down all the time. So, in the NBA, yes, everybody's shooting threes, but the Cavs are shooting the most threes, and they're hitting almost the least.
Yeah.
So that is one thing you'd look at and go, maybe Lonzo Ball doesn't need the green light for perpetuity. There are other guys. You got to let Darius Garland shoot threes.
Well, then I can't.
You got to let Donovan Mitchell shoot threes.
I can't let Lonzo. I'm going to bog it down with what I say with Lonzo, but go ahead. Go ahead.
DeAndre Hunter. He's been one of the worst 3-point shooters. I think I had one of those nifty charts a few weeks ago. I'm looking at you, Owen. Owen doesn't like my charts, and Ken, you don't respect my charts.
I don't
either.
respect your charts at all.
But
I want to see more.
Either way, I'm going to have a chart later today about Coach of the Years in the NBA and how quickly they can get fired. But I'm working on that as we speak. But what I'm saying is, Kenny,
do you even like the show anymore, or do you just work on your stupid charts all day?
The charts act as fodder for the show. That's the importance of the charts. But what I'm saying is that they've had some of the worst 3-point shooting, and they're not adjusting. They're not changing the way they play, while the rest of the league is kind of changing. They're not. I know we like to think of, hey, everybody's just shooting a bunch of threes. Well, the Houston Rockets aren't. They're at the bottom of 3-point shooting. The Nuggets, they're teams that are playing really well. That are not shooting threes. So the style is starting to vary a little bit in the league, and the Cavs are just acting like it's last year. Well, last year...
I still think they're behind. I said that to you yesterday. They seem to be perpetually behind the way where the league is going.
Yeah, and also...
That's what happens when you don't change the roster for 4 or 5.
Well, that's what happens when you're... As much as I hate this in the NFL, you really have to... If you're going to not be a competitive team, you have to do what you can to plan ahead. And they don't plan ahead because they've always tried to not be a type of team that builds for the future. So you can't plan ahead. Like the league, I think
they're too reactionary. They're not ahead.
I think the league's always a step ahead. They're reactionary. The league's always a step ahead. And you could say, well, they play a different brand of basketball. Yeah, but your different brand of basketball isn't winning.
Well, you can tell, though. I mean, there is a little bit of an adjustment happening, which is they just benched DeAndre Hunter, and that could be for the rest of the year. He could be coming off the bench for the rest of the year. Tyson has been elevated, and we'll see what happens when Strus comes back. And Sam Merrill will come back, but he's obviously not starting for them when other guys are healthy. They also, if you notice, I mean, Jared Allen's getting benched a ton. So he's not a member of their core 4 anymore. A guy that's getting benched is not a member of your core. So it's no longer, we got to stop saying core 4. Those days are over. Problem is he's being paid. No, actually he's not being paid that much. But the way you are paying guys, you're paying them as if this is a fully baked roster and this is the team that is supposed to be competing for championships when, the metrics are starting to fail. I know they're still top 10 in offensive defense somehow, but the metrics are starting to fail on them in a lot of ways.
There's a big-time NFL head coach who's basically telling you if you can get Mendoza, get Mendoza. We'll tell you who, and we'll tell you why coming up at 8 o'clock. Mary Kay in 40 minutes. Which way's that wind blowing on whether the Browns keep Shedeur next year or not? But coming up in 5 minutes, a football coach got fired for having a couple of drinks. Really? and Carman Anthony Lima about last night coming up in 5 on The Fan. Tom Merriman and Merriman Legal Friends.
much can happen around the globe that we never hear of.
Embarrassing. We got to be better on defense.
It won't matter till April. I think we know that. Y'all gonna write us off. We could go 82-0, no one would care.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. How he couldn't please his wife, and so now he's divorced.
Put a damn winning team on the field.
Now, the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
Well, for the seventh time in the last 10 games, the Cleveland Cavaliers on the short end after last night's 127-111 loss in Chicago. Head coach Kenny Atkinson not pleased with his team's sloppy play yet again, but says there is a light at the end of the tunnel the team is chasing.
I always say during these times you discover a lot about yourself, discover a lot about your team, and then you can find things too. Find things that can help you down the line.
Do you think the Cavaliers will eventually reach that light at the end of the tunnel, even if Kenny Atkinson may not be joining them, according to some people?
Man, so much would have to change.
What's that light at the end of the tunnel again?
Winning.
Well, yeah, they've won a lot of games, so that light at the end of the tunnel, if you're just winning games, they've won a bunch.
Looking like you did last season?
Even if they're fully healthy and they get everybody back and they hit the playoffs on a nice stretch at the end of the year, and think about already what I just said. How many people are believing that's going to be the case, that A, they'll be fully healthy, and B, playing great basketball at the end of the year, having it all come together, okay? Now, would you pick them to beat the Knicks in a series?
This is on a collision course with a very dramatic spring. Forget the whole, would you pick them to beat the Knicks in a series? Forget all that. This is on a collision course to be a very ugly, very dramatic spring. Because I don't see, this is who they are, and I don't necessarily see a way out of it right now. Unless you just start hitting all your shots. They're taking a bunch of threes. If they hit them, then yeah, I'll shut up. But I don't know if you can do that.
And you're asking Darius to be much better off than he is right now, even though his coach says he's going to continue suffering these stingers with his toe.
First quarter, I'm like, man, what are we bitching about? I couldn't believe it. First quarter yesterday, did you see first? Yeah. Darius, I'm like, oh man, what are we? I go, leave it to basketball, man. We just all sounded silly this morning. Nope. Even worse. It ends up even worse. So I think in so many ways, this is who they are, and it's going to end up being I think it's going to end up being a very dramatic spring.
We also heard from Cleveland Browns quarterback Shedeur Sanders yesterday as part of his weekly press conference, talking about the upcoming pressure that he'll be facing as the Browns face off against one of the AFC top teams in the Bills this week. And Sanders saying that, hey, he's dealt with this pressure pretty much his entire life.
I'm comfortable under pressure. It's just we just got to all be together. My whole career I played under pressure. On the field, off the field. That stuff doesn't faze me. You get what I'm saying? The only thing is we just got to be able to make it translate. We all got to be on one accord. We all got to be more of a team.
We know these last 3 weeks are important for Sanders. How much stock are you guys taking specifically in this game against the Bills?
I take stock in every single game.
Yeah, that's
how he can look. It's not even important that I want them to win. I think it's going to go a long way to separate them from the number one overall pick, to do all those things. I think winning is important for him, but how he looks, I think, is also going to play a big factor into this. I think if they end up with the number one pick, I think nature's going to take its course. But I think if they end up with number 2 or number 3, depending on how he plays, can that start to talk them out of doing something drastic to go up there and get the number one pick? I think there's a lot riding on these next 2.5 weeks, and I agree with him wholeheartedly, Tone. He's always had pressure on him. Depending on who his father is, obviously, that's a lot of pressure. Where he's played, who he's played with, who he's played for, the programs he's played for. There's been pressure on Shedeur Sanders his entire life.
I agree. Did you see who he talked about as a mentor, who he's been conversing with?
Did people have problems with this?
Well, I just saw people making the comparisons, but it's somebody who I actually brought up last week, Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, who, again, Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 overall pick, right? National champion.
Yep.
Jameis Winston had great moments in the NFL. Pretty deep ball, could make every throw at every level, but not good enough to be a starter long term. So those comparisons are very interesting to people. When I compare him to Jameis, people are like doing the Alonzo Mourning meme face, like, oh, good, oh, bad, oh, good, bad. But Jameis had the whole package and the personality, too. But yeah, I did see that. Like, I don't have a problem with him talking to Jameis. It's just kind of funny that that's somebody I compared him to.
If he ended up being Jameis, or like Jameis, then I go, you're young. How do I get you away from ending up how Jameis ended up? Jameis is a backup. No one's saying that
They
Jameis
couldn't
should be a
coach
starter.
the bad habits out of Jameis.
So how do I make this there's a lot of things I like about Jameis Winston. And at the beginning of his career, how do I get you into being a full-time starter all the time? I think that's what you take. I'll take Jameis Winston. I just need to know that there's coaching for the next step. I think we're desperate for QBs. I think QBs are as questionable as they've ever been as well, which is a recipe for disaster. So what can I do to get you away from Jameis, latter stage Jameis, if you're beginning stage Jameis?
Meanwhile, a surprising story yesterday from Athens. Ohio University has fired football coach Brian Smith for what's being described as over, quote-unquote, serious professional misconduct. According to The Athletic, a personnel file of Smith's reportedly acknowledged him storing alcohol in his office desk drawer, consuming alcohol in his office after normal business hours, and inviting assistant coaches for a private drink after games. Are you surprised by this being the case?
I want to know what the problem is with any of this. Yeah, I'm surprised because I need to know what the problem is with any of this.
Well, there's a couple
this
things.
This is OU.
This is not Sterling Cooper Draper Price.
Yeah, but it's also OU, a place that's kind of famous for their partying.
Yeah, well that's true. I don't think you want your coach. Like, it's one thing to, hey, go celebrate a win, go to campus, have a fun moment where everybody's getting like a big win, pictures. You can't have the coach there on a Tuesday night and a Thursday night, and then on a Saturday night.
Did they say after games? Is that what that thing said?
It's reportedly inviting assistant coaches for a private drink after games. Yes.
That's fine. There's no problem with that. Those guys should.
I don't know if that was every week.
Those guys should not be doing that on campus, though. Probably they should be doing it somewhere else.
Was it after losses?
Wait a minute. This is a college. If this was Perry High School, I'd go, hey, don't have that around the kids. It's a college. Didn't Dave Doran have a cigar and whiskey when they beat Clemson a couple years ago? Wasn't he on camera doing that? I think he was still on the campus.
I think overall when it comes to decision making, do you want your coach around a bunch of drunken kids all the time?
Well, no, but if he's wait a minute, hold on. If he's like when Steve Sarkisian was with USC, if he were drunk on the sidelines, then yeah, there's a problem. If he can't keep his life together and there's problems there, then fine. Yeah, Mitch is showing me the picture right now. See, boy, I got a memory for coaches boozing, don't I? But I'm if he's staying away from the co-eds, I just don't know any more of the story on this. If he's staying away from the co-eds, if they've had enough and they're getting a ride home, if they're doing it responsibly,
I think
they're in an office, they're in a coach's office.
I think you just provided a bunch of ifs, which I think could be part of the issue.
Oh, looks like Fatlock has some work to do this spring.
John Alzer will take over as interim head coach. That's it for About Last Night.
I just have a feeling over the next few months you are going to learn a lot more about this story, and then it'll become crystal clear why he's no longer coaching.
And then I will stand down. But if we're just talking about a couple of drinks in an office at a college football,
inviting the assistant. I know for a fact, Bob Huggins was living out of a hotel for a long period of time, and people in Morgantown knew where they could find Bob Huggins after a game, after practice.
Well, the Bob Huggins thing doesn't end well at all.
No. But you knew where you could find him. Let's put it that way.
Coming up at 8:20, Mary Kay Cabot will join us on the show. In 5 minutes, a big-name coach is telling you that if you can get him, you better get him. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Take us with you to work on the absolutely positively free Odyssey app. Watch us on YouTube. You can see Lima and I make faces to each other after calls. Friends, Ken Carman here for North.
7 with the Dolphins. Aviators play their first game coming up in the springtime. Don't miss the Kevin Stefanski Show, followed by Thursday Night Football. The Rams and the Seahawks fight for first in the NFC West. All starts tonight at 7 o'clock right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
All the Browns and NFL news you may have missed at work. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan.
We were talking about Shedeur Sanders and comparisons, and then you had a comp just now that you go, I don't even want to tease it, and some of the young people listening might not know. So take her away, Tone. You want me to guess? I want to guess. Let me guess.
I think a lot of the Shedeur fans that have jumped on with us and are watching us on YouTube Live, I don't even know if they'll know this name.
Okay.
Because we were younger in our football lives, but I remember this guy throwing the most beautiful deep balls of all time. And he even had a established connection with a pair of wide receivers. We certainly got a good look at him here in Cleveland. And then he only got 2 years to start in the NFL. He was a 6th-round pick. He had mobility. He could take off and run.
Okay, well, I'm way off. I wrote down Daryl LaMonica.
Is it Doug Peterson?
No, it's not Doug Peterson. Every hour, we are your continuing Doug Peterson coverage station.
It's not Daryl LaMonica?
No, it is not.
Do you even know who Daryl LaMonica is?
I know the name. I know the name and old highlights. But a guy threw a beautiful deep ball, which right now, Shedeur Sanders, that deep ball is a thing of beauty.
He was a 6th-rounder by the Browns?
No. But we were up close and personal with him. So we'll narrow it down a little bit.
Oh! Jake Delhomme.
No.
You guessed it. Frank Stallone.
No.
Who?
Jeff Blake.
He played here?
Cincinnati Bengals.
I was going to say, what?
Yeah.
I thought you meant he was a
So
former
remember,
Brown.
was it Carl Pickens?
You cheating bastard. I thought it was a former Brown.
Cardale Pickens, Darnay Scott. Look at the highlights. Shedeur fans, watch him on YouTube. He threw the most beautiful cascading into the clouds, into the heavens, and coming down. And I just remember the NFL films, the wrap up at the end of the week on what was the show?
Who on NFL match?
Well, no, the HBO one when it was on HBO.
Yeah,
with a young Chris Collinsworth.
Bruce Coslitz. Is that Bruce Coslitz?
Yes, was it?
Cincinnati Bengals. Who on earth remembers
inside
them?
the NFL?
Inside the NFL, I just remember beautiful deep ball. Because right now, Shedeur throws a beautiful deep ball.
Jeff Blake?
Yeah. Why do you think it's bad?
I don't think it's bad.
How many years
Jeez, that's in the weeds.
Yeah, how many years right now, how many full years do you think Shedeur, if you were to bet? I know the afternoon show would bet the next 10 years.
18. He's going to get 18.
18 what?
Years.
Oh, I think starts.
No.
Is what I thought.
Jeff Blake is alive?
You watching highlights, Owen?
No, I just went to find out where else he was. Because I remember him bouncing around.
He did bounce around after that, yeah. But he was only a full-time starter.
That's probably the other place that I remember.
Yeah, I think he was a full-time starter 2 years. Which, if you were to take the over-under on 2 full years starting, this wasn't even a full year, for Shedeur, would you take the over or under?
Ooh,
right now?
I think you know what I'd
probably take the under. As of right now? Yeah, I mean, I hope it's over, but I think that everybody else, you look around the league, no one's taking you seriously right now. So we're game by game.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel got 2 partial years. Tim Tebow got 2 years.
Threw for 3,800 yards back in 1995.
Jeff Blake?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's like 5,000 yards now.
Yeah. 28 touchdowns, 17 interceptions in 95. 96, 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, 14 picks. Those are 2 good years for Jeff Blake, man. Yeah, he was letting it rip. Okay, that's a hell of a comparison there. Okay, that's fair. What made you think of Jeff Blake?
The deep ball. Because I know I've heard the guys on the afternoon show say, guys that are drafted there don't throw deep balls like that. And I'm like, well, we have plenty of examples of guys that could throw a deep ball.
Well, I've
seen Gardner Minshew throw deep balls.
Okay.
I mean, there's a highlight reel. You can go.
I guess.
There's a bunch of guys that have arm talent that, just can't process or can't play quarterback in the NFL.
I think just about every quarterback has some arm talent.
These
the
days,
NFL,
doesn't seem like that, and they can run. Almost everybody can take off and run.
They
now.
got to have some arm.
I mean,
talent.
Mendoza. I can show you highlights of Mendoza taking off and running.
Well, speaking of, you brought this to our attention. This is Colin Cowherd. Is this with him and Danny Parkins?
Yes.
Okay, Colin Cowherd podcast. Our buddy Danny Parkins. This is via the Volume. Colin is saying that there is a big time head coach who's saying it's very easy to go and go get Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah, I think Mendoza is about as good a prospect as you're going to get. So, and the other thing is, I talked to an NFL coach about him. I said, this person may need a quarterback, but won't be able to get Mendoza, who will go number one. He won't be able to move up. And he said, he's also such an easy player to scout because Indiana runs pro concepts. So you will know, watching his college film, the throws he can and cannot make. He goes, he's such an easy, and this is a very good coach who may draft a quarterback in the next 2 or 3 years, may not. It's not urgent. But his take was, easy guy to comp. He said these Big 12 guys like Mahomes, you knew he was talented, but you're like, what in the hell is that offense?
Yeah, sure.
He goes, Mendoza's like, they run pros concepts. You will know. He goes, it's one day of watching film. You're like, oh yeah, you can make that throw, that throw, that throw, that throw, the audible out of that throw. He goes, he's the easiest guy to scout ever.
That audio courtesy of the Volume. First off, Jeff Blake, according to Mitch, has coached Shedeur Sanders since high school. Is that true, Mitch?
Come on. No way.
Mitch, get on the microphone. Oh, hold on.
That would be amazing.
All right, go ahead.
Mitch, go ahead.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing Jeff Blake has been at least a quarterback's coach for Shedeur Sanders.
Where at?
I am still looking that up.
Oh, so did you just say it and then now you're looking it up?
I mean, there's multiple videos on here saying that Shedeur Sanders has been trained by Jeff Blake.
Okay.
And it's the same Jeff Blake.
Is it the same Jeff Blake?
I believe so. I'm checking now.
No, you don't know, but you saw the name. Maybe.
Maybe he was. Maybe it is the Jeff Blake.
Jeff Simeone says a Blake's deep ball brought rain. That's how high he threw it. Okay, so.
Well, he says about, first off, can I just speculate he was talking to Sean McVay?
Ooh, really that's a good one.
Really good head coach.
I had another one.
They're out in Los Angeles. Really good head coach. I know that he has connections to that organization and says he's going to need to draft a quarterback in the next few years.
Right, that kind of makes sense.
I think it kind of narrows it down. Now, if it is McVay knows what he's talking about there. It simplifies it a little bit better. It makes you feel a little bit better, but I'm not going to put carts before horses here. See, this is where I'm at. This is what it kind of goes. I know you want to say something else. Let me say this. This is kind of where I'm at right now. Do I want to sit here and stump for a guy that I don't know if they're going to have a chance to draft? Do I want to do that?
Oh, yeah. You can plant your flag like you were talking about yesterday and say, I think that guy is going to be a good NFL quarterback.
But I want to see what Shedeur. Yeah, I do think that Fernando Mendoza is going to be a good NFL quarterback. I do.
Do you think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a good NFL quarterback?
I'm not sure. I thought he was going to be at this time last year. I thought he was going to be a good NFL quarterback. So we're obviously thrown off a lot. Now, I would say that Mendoza is a better prospect because last year's quarterback class wasn't that great. Mendoza, now the class, I don't know how great the class is, but it seems like it's already going to be Mendoza with a bullet. However, am I comfortable with giving up a bunch if we're not there? No, I'm not. So I got to see more in the college football playoff. I've already seen a bunch of him in Indiana here this last year. I want to see more in the college football playoff, but I want to see more from Shedeur because I don't want to go back to the Watson well. I don't really want to go back to the veteran well, the other bridge quarterback well. I want to see what Shedeur has because I feel it might be fruitless if I'm sitting here screaming and yelling about Fernando Mendoza and then we never get a chance to get him. And then it's like, well, already you know what we think of that quarterback, so what the hell's the point of doing any of this?
Yeah.
I want them to have a chance to be successful, and I want them to have a chance to be successful with the current quarterback they have, and that current quarterback is Shedeur.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I keep listening to this station, and obviously, right now, Nick and Jonathan are very, very high. It seems like Nick has come all the way, because Nick was not this high on Shedeur, before the season.
It seemed to be pretty negative about him.
Yeah, I thought so too. Now he's totally come around, which is funny.
Not
because
that negative.
By the numbers, Shedeur is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And now I'm not putting total stock into that because the offensive line, the receivers. Okay, we've gone over that. The coaching. Like, obviously, but if Shedeur was in any other city, would Nick and Jonathan be saying that he's ahead of Mendoza? Because Mendoza, like Dane Brugler we had on, he's like, I have him graded higher right now than he had. Than he had Cam Ward last year. Cam Ward went number 1 overall.
Okay.
So I think if we were in any other city, or we were in this city and Shedeur was playing anywhere else and we saw he was 44th out of 44 in almost every number.
Nick wouldn't. JP would. Jonathan would. He bought his jersey before. I don't know why he had to admit that it was one of the Chinese knockoffs, but he bought the jersey before they even drafted him, before it was a big time conversation. He really wanted him. I believe Jonathan would be watching him very closely and going, especially with our quarterback. Like if we still had Dylan Gabriel out there or something like that, or Bailey Zappi, I think he'd be looking at Shedeur Sanders starting with God knows who if he were playing at this time with another team, and be looking at him going, see, we could at least kick the tires on this guy. I don't think Nick would, though. If we're making the comparison between the two, then no, I don't think.
And nobody in Cleveland would, outside of Jonathan. Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But nobody would be saying that team shouldn't pick a quarterback. You'd be saying, all right, the Shedeur thing, that was nice, that was fun.
But I think because of Shedeur, it doesn't make us as damn desperate as we need to be. I think because of our situation, and we also have a bad cap situation as well, which I can't say with firm confidence. Like, I keep going back to the 2017 to the 2018 Browns. And I say, that team was terrible. And we thought that their line situation was bad. Then Baker Mayfield came in and made them look a lot better. And maybe Fernando Mendoza has the talent that he can make them look a lot better if he were to come in here. But I knew we were in a position to take any quarterback we want. And it became, who do you want to take? Is it Baker? Is it Josh? Who is? I'm not going to have that. I don't know if I'm going to have that chance with Fernando Mendoza.
But I thought what Colin was talking about from that head coach who's currently in the league, and Colin doesn't talk to the bad coaches. he's not going to develop a relationship with the bad coaches. Like you said, Sean McVay, could be him, could be, I don't know, Matt LaFleur, could be any of the guys he talks to. He talks to Shanahan all the time. Okay, those guys are noticing it, and this is where there's a departure, I think, from the fans that are all in on stats in college. That guy's saying they run a pro style offense. You can see he's making the pro throws. He can hit those hashes. He's got the different intermediate throws, the deep balls. He's been gutsy when they needed to, and they're not going to care about stats. They're not going to compare him to other Heisman winners and say he doesn't have the accounting stats, because also Indiana's been blowing everybody out in the fourth quarter. You know, Shedeur in fourth quarters in the Big 12 was throwing on every down. It was like the Tennessee game. That's not pros aren't looking at the pro evaluators are not going to be deadlocked, dead set on that.
Well, there's also scouting is what's going to matter the most, because stats can also work against you. I mean, you mentioned Mahomes in that clip where you look at the offense. Okay, what's real?
Right? It was a hard evaluation.
Graham Harrell on that offense before, so it becomes like what's real and what's not. So it comes the scouting.
And guys,
what can he do? How does
Curtis
he see it?
Rourke, right? Last year it's not Nathan's brother. It was Curtis. Was that the quarterback in Indiana that came from OU? Guys, yes, they were really good with him. The evaluators are watching the arms. They're watching how they're navigating, inside that Cignetti offense and everything. And they're like, all right, one guy is an end of the draft guy. This guy could go number one overall. That's what the evaluators are saying. What stats guys are doing to go, oh, look, he has the same stats. That's just ridiculous. That opinion is getting dismissed entirely from the get-go if you're just looking at stats. That's so silly.
Well, which way is the wind blowing on whether the Browns are going to keep Shedeur Sanders next year or not? Mary Kay Cabot is going to answer that question with us in 5 minutes. And Joe Varn going to join us at 9. Is Kenny Atkinson on the hot seat, and should he be? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Keep it here. 92.3 The Fan. It's Fat and Thin in the morning on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for K&K Heating and Cooling. You're cold. They make warm. It's that simple. It's like the cell's warm, make it hot. Well, you can make warm with K&K Heating and Cooling. Free estimates, 0% financing, and family owned. So you're not calling some call center out in California. No, you get somebody right here in Northeast Ohio, right there in Parma, there to take care of you. It's personalized service from a family owned and operated company. They've been doing it better for over a decade. Check them out online, K&K Heating and Cooling.
hitter John Kenzie Noel as he was designated for his son. It was announced this morning Cleveland Monsters will play host to the 2027 American Hockey League's All-Star Classic. The two-day event comes to Rocket Arena February 7th and 8th, 2027. Don't miss the Kevin Stefanski Show, followed by Thursday Night Football. The Rams and the Seahawks all begin tonight at 7, right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Which way's the wind blowing on the future with Shador and the Browns? Let's bring in Mary Kay Cabot. She joins us right now. She's brought to you on the Fan Hotline. Hello, Mary Kay.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. What's Shador's future here? How open are they to starting Shador Sanders in 2026 as the starting quarterback week 1?
They're still very much open to it. They're absolutely open to it. But there are still certain things that have to happen. These last 3 games have to play out. He has to go out there and demonstrate that he can be the guy. And, of course, we all saw that he had a little bit of a setback against the Bears, so he's got to rebound from that. He's got to make good decisions. The footwork has to be good. The accuracy has to be there. So all of those things have to happen. And then the Browns have to figure out where do they land in the draft. And they also have to know who's coming out in the draft. So it's up to Shador to go out there and prove week by week that he can get the job done. But once they get to the end, they still have more work to do.
How do they scout him? Because my question is, how can he look like he's the guy when he's playing with jobbers?
Well, you have to evaluate for traits. You have to really look at the things that he can do sort of almost in an isolated situation. Is he putting the ball where it needs to go? So when you look at the play to Jerry Jeudy that was snatched out of Jerry Judy's hands, that one goes on the plus side of the ledger for Shador. He would grade out well on that play because he did his job. He put the ball where it needed to go, and it should have been a touchdown pass. So that's how you evaluate that one. When you look at the Titans game, you evaluate that game for the plays that he was able to make, and if somebody dropped the ball, or if the ball got picked off, then that still wouldn't necessarily go on the negative side of his ledger. It can go on the positive side. So they're going to have to almost evaluate him in some cases in a bit of a vacuum because he probably isn't going to have the perfect protection that maybe he'll have later on in his career. He might not have the receiving core he would have later on. So some of it is a projection. And, I think that they're getting good data. But now he's got to still go out there in these past 3 games and show that he can do all of the things that you need to do, including leading the football team. And I think he's really done a good job of showing that.
Well, how do you evaluate him down the stretch? Because this does seem like a really tough spot to get a fair evaluation given the line, given the wide receiver room, given just all the moving parts. And you feel bad for him in that regard. And he has been out there making some plays, but overall, statistically, it's been pretty bad.
Well, you just can't evaluate for results and statistics. That you're not going to be able to do. It's the same thing that you sometimes have to do when you're evaluating a college quarterback. Teams had to evaluate Josh Allen when he didn't necessarily have the best supporting cast and the best situation when he was in college. You had to evaluate him for traits, and that's what the Browns are going to have to do with Shador Sanders. You just have to look at the arm strength, the accuracy. We know some of the things that he does really, really well already, and you have to project those things. You can't say, oh, look at the rating, look at the completion percentage. Now, you can look at the completion percentage if you're looking out there and he's missing throws and he's missing where to go with the ball and he's not placing it accurately because he didn't place it accurately. He was inconsistent in Chicago with ball placement even when he had the time to throw. So you're really going to have to look at those things, again, almost in a vacuum or isolate those things on him and try to project how that will look when you have an upgraded offensive line and receiving core.
Mary Kay Cabot. Oh, were you going to say something, Tone? Oh, Mary Kay Cabot joining us on the Fan Hotline. With Quinshon Judkins, I woke up. There's a couple of different folks starting to get a little bit, maybe it's more on Quinshon. You know how I feel about the offensive line changes. I think it's going to be very hard. I like what I've seen out of him. Maybe I'm seeing it through brown and colored orange and brown colored glasses. How good or how bad has Quinshon Judkins been?
Well, I think he has already established that he's a really good runner in the right conditions, but the Browns have been falling behind. It's hard to maintain and sustain the run when you are not ahead in the game and you have to go more to the pass, which is kind of what happened in the Bears game. And, they're facing stacked boxes all the time. So he's another one where you have to really try to figure out what is this going to look like when you have a better offensive line and when you have a better passing attack where you can actually run the football and you're not running against 8 and 9 stacked boxes like that. So I think it's been a little bit tough for him. It's hard to get into a rhythm. It's hard to get into a flow when you're not converting third downs, when you're not passing the ball, when you've got the stacked box. So I think it's been tough sledding for him.
All right, Mary Kay, you can debunk this if you'd like, because this is a feels thing. I don't have any numbers to back it up. I don't have any nifty charts to produce or go online with, but it seems to me their operations have gotten muddier, messier, worse since Tommy took over play calling and he went, he's been upstairs. That's just to my naked eye. It seems like there's been more issues getting stuff in, players running on or off the field offensively, delay of games. I think that's all gotten worse. Does that match what you've been seeing?
Well, the operation does need to be cleaned up, and that's going to be a key over these last 3 weeks. They do have to be operationally sound and clean, and I think part of it is, a large part of it is the fact that they've had such a revolving door on the offensive line. They had their 9th starting offensive line combo against the Bears. And then, of course, they lost Tevin Jenkins to that in that game, and then they were down to their third option at guard there. So I think that hasn't helped matters at all because some of the guys you'll bring in as eligibles, they're actually playing and starting and things like that. So there has been confusion because of all of the upheaval and all of the injuries on the offensive line. But once again, it's really no excuse. You just have to work a little bit harder. Everyone has to study a little bit more, and you have to try the best you possibly can to run a clean game over these next 3 games, or that's when you start to take a look at the coaching staff and wonder how this thing is going.
All right, so these are bigger picture questions I have here. I know Shador's a very big question, but I got to go with the guys who are the coaches here. Going with Tommy Rees here, just to piggyback off of what Anthony said. Mary Kay Cabot joining us here on the show. If they were to make a move at head coach, would Tommy Rees be seriously considered for the position?
Well, I've wondered about that myself because Tommy is so well thought of inside the building. He's so well thought of outside the building in the college ranks and in the pro ranks. And he's already gotten some bites and some interviews, and people are very, very interested in Tommy. And I know the Browns want to make every effort to keep him around. Having said that, I don't know if they believe he's ready to be a head coach yet. So we'll have to see how all of that shakes out. I really don't know where they're going with that yet, but I do think that they will make every effort to try to keep him around.
All right, between Kevin and Andrew Berry, what's the most likely possibility? Kevin goes, Andrew stays. Berry goes, Kevin stays. Both go, both stay.
Well, first of all, I'm on record as saying that I do think that Kevin deserves a chance to coach this football team when he has a quarterback that he can win consistently with, and I don't know that he's really had that yet here for any length of time. So I do think that if he went somewhere else and had a quarterback that he can work with and win with, then I think he's going to be successful, and I think he would be that here too. So if I were making the decision, I would try to give him the quarterback and see what he can do with it. So I just want to make sure that I'm on record as stating that that's how I feel about that. And then as far as Andrew is concerned, I certainly don't see how you, pack up your NFL defensive rookie of the year, get him ready to head out to the awards ceremony. And then you've got all these other really great rookies that you have just drafted in one of the best rookie classes that I've ever seen here, and say, oh no, you're done. Sorry, Andrew, that's just not, this is not going to fly. I remember at the owners' meetings, Jimmy Haslam said, this is a very important draft and he basically has to nail it. And I think he's nailed it. I think he has nailed this draft, and I think we can pretty much all agree on that. and he hasn't even necessarily made one of the most important pieces of that draft, and that was the first rounder that will come in 2026. So I just don't see that Andrew is going anywhere based on what we've seen from this draft class so far. I think it's the foundation, and I know how you guys feel about this. I think this year is the foundation, and I will say it again, of Super Bowl window 2. And I think that next year will be the second layer of that. And I think that Andrew will be the one making those decisions.
I would disagree with you a little bit on the draft class. I think it's a really solid draft class. I've been so excited about Carson Schlesinger. That guy looks like he's going to play for a decade. Judkins showed all sorts of signs early. I know people are starting to say they took the wrong Ohio State running back. I don't know. I think he just needs to be behind, a better line, better situation over time. But there also weren't priority positions. And the priority positions, the quarterbacks, I think he kneecapped both of them by taking one in the third and one in the fifth and causing that disastrous two-way weird quarterback competition to start the year. And that's all part of managing a roster. So I don't totally put this draft as this runaway success story because I think he also hurt himself with some of the layout on how they took the quarterbacks. And I wonder how Jimmy feels about that because it's been just a weird year. And second straight year, they've been one of the worst teams in football. And next year, there again, Vegas is going to consider them going into the season as one of the worst teams in football.
Well, they have one of the best defenses in football, so we can look at the defense and say that they have that. What they didn't have this year was the quarterback, and they knew heading into it that this was a fact-finding mission, that they were trying to identify a quarterback. And in their minds, there really wasn't a quarterback at the top of the draft that at least that they could get their hands on. And so they did the best thing they felt they could do. I do agree that I think that there should have been some way to field a winning quarterback this season, that you should have been able to put somebody out there that could win more than one football game for you. And I don't know who that would have been or where that would have come from, but it would have changed everything. I think they could have contended this year had they had that guy. So I do agree that the quarterback situation didn't go the way anybody thought it would or should or could have. So I do agree with you there, but I do think that this team is still, right now as we speak, a good quarterback away from contending. And I do think that it would be premature to pull the plug on this particular roster when that hole is the one that needs to be filled.
Mary Kay Cabot with us on the show. Miles chasing history. There have been some fans who have gotten our mentions and even called in a couple times this week. They're mad because Miles is lined up in the wide 9, which the number's grown where I've said he's lined up in the wide 47 and things like that. They're frustrated because he's sack chasing, he's record chasing. It is a minority, I will tell you that. But I have to ask the question, is there anybody within the organization, in the locker room at all, that is frustrated that he may be going after the record?
No, I don't find that to be the case at all. To a man, every single person that we talk to is on board with trying to help him get the record to the point where I think Alex Wright willingly gave up a half a sack 2 weeks ago. These guys are all in on Miles getting this record. They know what he means to this team. They're all happy to be breathing the same air as arguably one of the best defenders of all time. And I don't get the sense that anybody is having a problem with that. We talk to the coaches, we talk to the players, and they really, really want this for Miles. And I think he probably will get it on Sunday.
Oh, he'll get, because I was going to say, how important is it that he gets it in the next 2 games?
It's important. I think it's important because I think that getting it at home is going to be a whole lot more meaningful than getting it on the road. I'm sure they've got a video queued up and a celebration all queued up, and he'll be there on the lakefront in front of the hometown fans. And I think he really was on a mission this year, not just to try to take this team to the Super Bowl or to the playoffs, but to also, in some ways, atone for everything that happened in the offseason. and win back some of the fans that may have jumped ship.
Mary Kay Cabot, find her on Twitter at Mary Kay Cabot. We thank you so much for the time. All the very best to you. And next Thursday is Christmas, so have a happy Christmas, Mary Kay. Merry Christmas.
You too. Merry Christmas, guys.
Thank you. Mary Kay Cabot on the Fan Hotline. It's English if you say Happy Christmas. We're here in America. All right, I heard what Mary Kay said. You pushed back about the draft class.
Which I think has been a good draft class.
Allow me to retort when we return in 5 minutes on the Fan with Joe Vardon at 9 o'clock. Is Kenny Atkinson actually on the hot seat, and should he be? Joe Vardon, The Athletic, 9:01 on the Fan.
story because I think he also hurt himself with some of the layout on how they took the quarterbacks.
I do agree that I think that there should have been some way to field a winning quarterback this season, that you should have been able to put somebody out there that could win more than one football game for you. I think they could have contended this year had they had that guy. But I do think that this team is still, right now as we speak, a good quarterback away from contending. I do think that it would be premature to pull the plug on this particular roster when that hole is the one that needs to be filled.
This whole show is about arguing things I don't really want to argue. Mary Kay Cabot on the Fan Hotline just moments ago with Tone. A little bit of an exchange back and forth, if you will. Nothing bad. Lima wanted to push back on the draft, which I want to push back on Lima. I think that it's possible, though. Before I say this, I think it's possible to go, I think this draft class has been good. I think it's better than what Lima was. Now you're nodding your head.
It has been good.
I
agreed that it's been good.
So what are we arguing then?
I do wonder if they've run out of gas here at the end.
Well, the point that you brought up in that clip that we just played was that the way they drafted their quarterbacks, the order in which they drafted their quarterbacks, really made it. It put a little mark on what they did in the draft, because had they just went to Shedeur in week 5,
had they just drafted Shedeur in the 3rd round,
right,
and Dylan was not a part of this experience, we would have had a clear-cut delineation. I think Shedeur would have gotten all the work, even though we know in this league, guys get thrown into, it's baptism by fire for a lot of quarterbacks taken after the 1st round. But either way, we all would agree, he would have gotten more work in had he been the 3rd-round pick. Well, you deprived him of that because of the whole situation. And then not to mention Kenny Pickett, who they had here, who then they ended up saying goodbye to. Joe Flacco, they end up trading. Like the whole thing, that again, that's managing a roster. So I'll set that aside for a second. Love trading out of the Travis Hunter pick. I was never buying into the Travis Hunter. I thought it was nonsense. Maybe he'll end up being good. I don't know. But I was not sold on him on either side of the ball to the level. And then all of a sudden now he's elite on both sides of the ball. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe corner he was truly elite. But then he was going to split time. That would have looked really bad. Can you imagine how we would have been talking about Travis Hunter this year had he had been splitting time and not being great at either? We'd have been like, "What do we got to pick a side? What are you doing?"
If he would have got hurt,
and then if he would have got hurt, so trading down and Mason Graham, I said before the draft was going to be the safest pick. And some people still argue with me and said they should have gone offensive line. Whatever. They do need to fix the offensive line. Mason Graham is a good player. I do wonder, like Malik Collins going down. Feels like everybody else is struggling.
He's exposed
except Myles Garrett.
He's exposed it. And the reason, and there's a very simple reason. Young guys who usually come in are usually not very great at stopping the run in the NFL on defensive lines. Mike Hall struggled with it. You have Mason Graham has struggled with it. I think it takes time to be a better run stopper as a defensive lineman in the NFL. Big name guys, I think it's very difficult unless you are a true nose. And we don't see a lot of true noses anymore because guys just, with the exception of the one guy that people were making jokes about at Tampa, I'm not even making jokes about him. I'm just saying, unless you're a true 3-4 nose guy, they don't make them like that anymore. And Mason Graham, I think, has been exposed because you're not going to be able to control gaps the way that Malik Collins is. It's going to take time. You got to learn some of that system, and it takes more than a year. You're seeing... the offensive line play is so bad. This is going to turn nitty-gritty here, and I don't mean to be it. The offensive line play in college is so bad, even in the Big Ten, which is usually elite offensive line play. It's not nearly as good as it used to be. So you're not seeing the same concepts you're seeing in the NFL. NFL offensive line play isn't that great, but it's still vastly better than anything you're seeing if you're Mason Graham that you saw in college. It takes time. The schemes take time. The athlete takes time. It's going to take a year or two for Mason Graham to get it. So Malik Collins has been through all that. He's a veteran. That's why they went on and they got Mo Hurst. Veterans, they tend to be worth their weight in gold because they can do both. They can be able to get around a quarterback. They can cause pressure up the middle, which causes ruckus, which causes problems, which is able to bring your edge rushers closer to the quarterback and get them home because they're going to be better athletes. They got track speed and they're big and strong, Myles Garrett, but there's other guys like that too. Not as good as Myles, but you get what I'm saying. And then you got guys who are able to stop the run. And they're not able to do that yet. So, yeah, Malik Collins ended up being the linchpin to this defense. And let's not forget, you didn't have Denzel Ward on Sunday. And Sam Webb and Miles Harden are not anywhere near Denzel Ward. And you also don't have MJ Emerson for the season. So you got exposed like crazy, and it's going to stay that same way.
But that's what I mean. The biggest positions, they did not address the biggest positions in this draft to that level. Like, they took the 2 quarterbacks, but like I said, we went over how I think they screwed that up. And you know, I just don't get the Dylan Sampson pick. And he's shown some
I thought the Dylan Sampson pick was perfectly fine for a 4th rounder.
Yeah, but he's shown some flashes. Also has a ton of negative carries. He's I don't know. He's the youngest player. What is he? The youngest player in the league? What was the urgency to take a second running back at 126?
Wait a minute. Now, he was supposed to be the change of pace type of guy. He's supposed to be the replacement for Jerome Ford. You've ended up having to play him because, remember, he had to start the season because Quinshon Judkins couldn't start the season. So he had to share carry. So one thing always leads to another here, man. That's what makes football great.
But to go through this draft and have 7 picks and they don't take an offensive lineman, and you know that to me was such an egregious over the last few years to just not being able to solidify even one position for the future on that offensive line. That is, to me, going to be another big mark against this draft class that some people want to act like it's the draft class that Ozzie Newsome had back in the day. And I'm like, it's not close to that.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Where are the Hall of Famers? There's a Hall of Famers in this class.
You're trying too hard. You're trying too hard.
I'm not trying too hard.
I think you are. I think you are.
This draft class is not good enough to save his job. Sorry.
And that's what I think you're fighting. That's why I think you're fighting too hard on it. I never said once. Mary Kay did. Well, you ain't fighting with Mary Kay. You're fighting with me now. I've never said that draft class is enough to save his job. Never a once. I might have said it in an example, but I don't believe it. Okay? I might have said it as we were framing something, but it is not my opinion that draft class is good enough to save his job. But don't deride the draft class just to make a case so you don't want Andrew Berry around.
I said it was a good draft class.
It's a very good draft class. And you can say the quarterbacks. I get what you're saying. But look at the previous draft class when you go after what he did. I like the Zach Zinter pick. It looks like he is not cut for the NFL.
I am not going to look at his previous draft classes because they're laughable. Okay. He was 0 for 5 for this year.
But that's what I'm saying. I think you could see this draft class and go, nice draft class. I also don't trust him for the future. 1 out of 6 ain't great.
No.
I think you can do that.
I gave him credit.
It took you 6 years to learn how to scout. Is that what we're saying? Like, you could say all that. I
almost wonder if he just got lucky.
But that's okay. Fine, maybe he got lucky. But I think you're being a little bit too hard on some of these guys that are in this draft class, who I think are able to play to a pretty decent level or to a very high level. I mean, you got Carson Schlesinger there.
Yeah, we know.
Mason Graham's been fine.
We went over it.
I mean, you were excited about Harold Fannin Jr. You were celebrating him more than I've ever seen any draft player.
I think he's really good. Just has to shore up the hands a little bit.
Mike and Stowe, you're first up on the Fan. Hello, Mike.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are we doing?
I'm not doing very good now, Mike, because I think he's trying too hard to make a case that we all know. We don't trust Andrew Berry.
I'm sorry, Ken, but I'm with Anthony big time.
Well, now I'm yelling at both of you.
I'm going to tell you why. He's right, and I know we always can be hindsight's 20/20, and we should have taken, Henderson maybe over Judkins, right? I did want Henderson over Judkins. I do believe the offensive line is a bigger issue there, so I'm not going to get stuck on that. But the 2 picks that I do agree with him completely is, and knowing where our team needed, an offensive lineman we need a little more time for them to mature and grow and become all pros. The receivers and the running backs are more the tires, with flashy wheels. You can get those. I don't know why we took 2 running backs, and I
didn't understand it on draft night either.
All right, but you just contradicted yourself in the conversation. You said an offensive lineman is going to take more than 1 year, correct?
Yes, and that's why.
So what's the chances? Stay with me, Mike. What's the chances? Dylan Sampson was able to come in and contribute. I'm not going to say make an immediate impact, but contribute. Offensive line play is almost at an all-time low. You agree?
Well, that's obvious.
So what would the linemen do in the 4th round that they would have picked this year for this Browns football team?
I'm the Dillon pick. I'm telling you, it's the 3rd pick. It's the 3rd round pick because if we were going to wait and maybe take a quarterback later, which is obviously what we should have done, we didn't want one early, and we're more than a couple years away. I'd rather get linemen coming in one year after another. I mean, Lyman's right. The year before, we should have had another one coming in here.
Yes.
And that would have been building this. And that we knew it was going down. We knew they were getting old and long tooth. Why did we wait so long to do something about it? And now it's made Stefanski look like he's more incompetent than he is.
But that's where I meet you halfway, because that's an overall philosophy conversation. I'm not a big fan of the Dylan Gabriel pick myself, but I just can't guarantee the guy in the third round would have been able to do it because you picked Zach Zinter before that. Now, they've had some success with later round guys that they've picked. If DeJuan Jones could stay healthy, I think it'd be a little bit different, but he can't. Luke Whippler, we'll see how this works out, but again, he's a sixth-round guy. So you're immediately looking at guys who are a little bit later on. But to save it, I would have had to gone at the top of the draft, and I'm not giving up Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger for offensive linemen.
I don't know that.
Well,
see, here's the thing. Just because we took a certain guy in the third round and he wasn't a good pick on offensive line doesn't mean we couldn't have taken a different guy that could have been good. This whole thing about, like, will we take previous picks and say, well, we didn't do good here. Well, we better learn to do
I
good.
can only go by their history. Like, do you or do you not assume that he's not very good at picking wide receivers? Their history shows that they're not very great at picking wide receivers, at least mid to late round.
Learn from your mistakes, Ken, and then you become better. That's what people generally should do in life, and that's what he needs to do too. To assume he can never get better at this, but he should have been doing along. What me and Lima, I think, are saying is that strategically, maybe you don't get him right. That's hindsight, picking the right guy, right? Yeah, you get wrong in the third round lineman sometimes, but if you take one, you might get that one right. And I just don't know why we want running backs before our lines solidify. You know what I mean?
I'm at a point right now, like, I don't even want to, I'm not trying to even defend Andrew Berry in so many ways, but thank you very much for the call, Mike. The only thing I'm pointing out is that you can feel you got lucky with Mason Graham and Carson Schlesinger. I think that highlights how little faith I have, because I'm holding on to these guys like crazy. I think Quinshon Judkins has a future, not Nick Chubb, but he has a future, and I hold on to these guys like crazy. I don't want to reevaluate the draft because history shows me if we are learning from our history shows me he'd mess him up, and that's why I'm not advocating for him for the future because I can't do it. Coming up next, Joe Vardon, 5 minutes away. Kenny Atkinson, is he on the hot seat? Should he be on the hot seat? Ken Carman, Toastmaster General. Joe Vardon answers those questions in 5 on the Fan.
Anthony Lima for QC Kinetics, where this time of year, especially when it gets cold out,
on Wednesday. Don't miss the Kevin Stefanski Show, followed by Thursday Night Football, the Rams and the Seahawks. All starts tonight at 7 right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Sign up to be a part of the fan club. Download the free Odyssey app and follow 92.3 The Fan to get all of the best audio and best stories sent straight to your inbox. 92.3thefan.com.
It's time to give away Cavs tickets before Joe Varden joins us to talk about something related to the Cavs. I don't know why I'm stretching out all my words. Go ahead.
All right, here you
away.
go, Kenny. We're looking for a winner. Enter the code word SUNSET at 923thefan.com.
Spell it for everybody.
SUNSET. Before 10 a.m., your chance to see the Cleveland Cavaliers take on the Charlotte Hornets in the City Edition matchup. On Monday, December 22nd, 7 p.m. at Rocket Arena. Get your tickets at Cavs.com/tickets. It's all from the Cavaliers and Sports Radio 923 Fan.
Joe Varden joins us right now from The Athletic on the Fan Hotline. Joe, good morning.
I was watching you guys on the streaming site this morning, and Ken, you're wearing a very nice shirt today.
Oh, this is an old one, actually. This is an old flannel, and now I'm wearing a jacket because the AC was on in here, and I was freezing. I was freezing my baguettes off. Joe, let's stop beating around the bush. Stop trying to change the subject.
The small talk to get out of talking about the horrors that we have to talk about.
Is Kenny Atkinson on the hot seat? Yes or no?
I think the short answer is yes, but you have to remember that the hiring was a little off in terms of how that process went, and so I can't speak to who gets to make these kinds of decisions, but we have to remember that the front office largely had presented James Borrego as choice one, and Dan basically pushed the decision towards Kenny. So, that's why I hesitate there. But yeah, I think there's some I think that not everybody's on the same page right now, and losing has a lot to do with that. It hasn't been a good couple months, and at the same time, certainly Kenny, but I think the organization at large had expected the early part of the season to be nothing like last year. But then at the same time, you're 29 games in and you're one game over 500. That's not good. That is not probably what they expected either. So, there's a lot of injuries for sure. They're playing players who are, they're either too young collectively, and then, in a couple of these guys' case, last year they were barely in the league, and now they're getting major minutes. Like that's a challenge. So there's a lot of reasons for all of this, but, considering how expensive the roster is, and what it looks like right now, I think there are some hard questions.
Yeah, Joe, the injuries, we saw around the NBA, and Tom Haberstroh put out that piece about all the injuries around the NBA. So I fail to see that as a excuse here, or even a justification, because they've had enough talent to win these games. San Antonio went 9-3 without Wemby. Okay, Golden State came into Cleveland and beat us with a lacrosse star, without Draymond Green, without Steph Curry, without Jimmy Butler. Nobody can convince me we don't have enough talent on a lot of given nights on the floor.
Well, so this is something I've been thinking about, just sort of how they got here, and I had made the contention that almost no one on the roster improved from year over year. And I've been floating this, to some people in the organization, and I don't know if pushback is the right word, but more like a little bit of a clarification as to how they view it. And, they Donovan is actually playing better, statistically, or however you want to measure that. Obviously Tyson improved, and Sam Merrill had really improved, but that's based on a much smaller sample size. And then you look at Darius, worse, Jarrett, worse, Wade, worse, Mobley, slightly worse. And then I think there's a caveat there too, and then Lonzo, he's been a minus offensively, and it's also been a tough pairing to have him on the team at the same time that you have Darius, given Darius's injury issues. Hunter, substantial drop. I should have mentioned that. Obviously, Tomlin has improved, but when you start to listen to all this, and then you realize, the major minutes that Tyson and Tomlin are getting at a time when some of the veterans that you really count on aren't playing nearly as well as they did, and then also that Strus has been out the whole time, and now Mobley's out a month, and before that it was other guys who were out, and so on and so forth. So, no, Anthony, it's not just the injuries, but then when you look at what else is going on, and then you apply the injury thing to it, it is kind of hard to determine exactly what this team is if they ever get healthy.
Joe Vardon joining us on the show. So, if things aren't going well, is there how much blame is at Donovan then? I mean, he's the best player. Is there anything there?
So, I go back to, and I know fans loved this, when this was a few weeks ago, when Tyson said the thing about the effort not being there. And I think the intimation was he was talking about some of the older players, but who could he mean? I don't think that he could possibly have meant Donovan. I think Donovan has played as well and as hard for this team as he has. So then who did he mean? Was he talking about Jarrett? Was he talking about Evan? Was he talking about DeAndre? Who are we talking about here? So I don't blame Donovan, of course, not at all. And I wrote, before this all turned south, I wrote that it would be interesting to watch this team fully commit to him as a scorer and see if he can win the scoring title and see what that means for the offense come the postseason. But if you I guess the biggest thing that we all have to consider is what this team has been able to accomplish, regardless of who the coach is, in the playoffs. Recognize that they've been together for a while, and they've had some opportunities. And then think about the cost. I mean, they are the only second APR team currently in the NBA, which means they have the most expensive roster with the most restrictions on how to change it. And at what point does ownership decide that the cost of this roster is not worth what they're getting from it? So, I don't think you make that call in December. We're still not even to Christmas yet. Max Strus hasn't played a game. Mobley is out a month. The Pacers at this time last year were not very good, and they ended up being, they were awesome, obviously, all the way until Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So, it actually still isn't time to press panic buttons, but, those are the major, those are the major themes right now. And then when you talk about at the beginning, is Kenny on the hot seat? And my short answer was yes, but that's just because of all of these factors, right? They're not winning. They haven't gotten where the organization felt they should playoff wise. This roster is crazy expensive. And, are you going to decide as an organization that this roster isn't going to get it done? Or if you still think it can, well, then why isn't it? So there's a lot going on right now for sure.
Well, Joe Vardon with us. The reason this even comes up at all is because you just outlined there's not much in the way of flexibility that you can alter things to change it for the better this year. And you're seeing effort as an issue almost on a nightly basis. So because of that, and Dan Gilbert's your owner, and he seems to be a lot more active than he was there for a few years, given his situation. So all of that would lend itself to believe that, in that league where Coach of the Years get fired in the same year they win Coach of the Year. This happened twice over the last 15 years, 20 years, with George Karl 1 year, and I think it was Dwayne Casey another year. Like, guys get fired the year they win Coach of the Year. It's not crazy to believe a guy could get fired the very next year. That's happened, a handful of times as well.
No. Certainly, it's certainly not. And I mean, of course, as far as team sports go, NBA coaches are in the most. Well, I couldn't even tell you the word. They're in like the strangest position of, the responsibility is theirs, but also like they're probably the least. They have the least amount of power of anybody in their position in other sports. And if you have an expensive roster that you believe in, especially given that these players are all none of them are too old. So if you are of the mind that the roster is not the issue, and yet you see that the players aren't playing as hard as they used to, then you make the decision that they've just simply tuned out the coaching staff. And I'm not saying that is what has happened here, but that's how a Coach of the Year gets into trouble, is when the effort doesn't look like it's there. And so, those would be things that Dan would be considering and consulting with Kobe on if that's what they're doing. But I would also, organizationally, this is a team fundamentally that does believe in its roster and also does allow for injuries to impact outcomes. So it is entirely possible that Dan is looking at all this and thinking like, well, wait a minute. Darius is not the same Darius because of this toe thing. He needs time. The Evan injury, that's going to set us back a minute. He needs time. We haven't even seen Strus yet. That needs time. So I think because of how much money they spent on this roster, that actually probably tells you how they're feeling in the moment, that they're okay, and they'll be better when they get the rotation that they want, and some of these guys snap out of shooting slumps. That's what I suspect. But getting beat the way they've been getting beaten lately, and even the games that they win where they're way down against these bad teams, that's not good. That's not good. That's not a good look, and it raises the questions against everything that I've just said.
Well, because I was going to ask, we say core four all the time. It's like, well, then people want to make moves. Well, I thought they had problems being able to move Darius Garland before he had a chronic injury. And with the second apron, it's like, okay, people can tweet it all they want. It don't mean it's going to happen. And like the Jared Allen thing I brought up with Lima earlier today, I said he's definitely, in talking to people, he's outperformed his contract, so what are you going to get back? So I think that the only time you probably make a move with the big name players is maybe when you're thinking about blowing it up, and this year you're not going to do that, right?
Yeah, and I also think for our friends and neighbors out there, we need to remind that if you're a second apron team, it's because you fundamentally believe that those specific players were going to get you where you need to go. And if you're a second apron team that decides this isn't going to work, the moves that you make to get out of the second apron mean that you're bringing back less talent in the near term. So if you want to blow this up now, like if you want Darius out, or if you want Jarrett out, or if you think you're going to move on from one of the other two core guys instead, the return that you get on that trade is not going to be A, what you paid, and B, like the all-star caliber that of player, because you're trying to move on from the expensive players to recreate flexibility and maybe build back around the player or two that you keep. So just keep that in mind, that you're not trading one of these four guys to get better now. You really can't. that deal's not out there and the rules restrict it so much. So, when you start going down that road, it's to take a step backward for future flexibility.
The great Joe Vardon, at Joe Vardon on Twitter, from The Athletic. Joe, have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for the time.
All right, guys. Good to talk to you.
Joe Vardon on the Fan Hotline. Have you hit code red after last night? I think some fans might be waking up to how bad this is. I think it can get a lot worse for everybody involved very soon. When is very soon? I'll tell you in 5 minutes on the Fan. Classic. Atkinson on the hot seat? Yes or no?
I think the short answer is yes, but you have to remember that the hiring was a little off. We have to remember that the front office largely had presented James Borrego as choice one, and Dan basically pushed the decision towards Kenny. I think that not everybody's on the same page right now, and losing has a lot to do with that. Considering how expensive the roster is and what it looks like right now, I mean, yeah, I think there are some hard questions.
Oh, the wheels are getting shaky. Have you reached Code Red with the Cleveland Cavaliers? 216-474-0092. Last night was horrible. That was Joe Vartan with us earlier. He was exceptional from The Athletic. Find more of that interview, 923thefan.com. Have you reached Code Red? Lima says yes. Some people have tweeted at me, burnt orange. Not a reference to the other team in town. It's getting warm. I think that people will reach Code Red on one certain game.
I think he is.
We are close to it.
Okay.
Yep, we're getting close.
You're talking Christmas?
You bet your sweet butt cheeks I am. Noon, Christmas. You've just gotten done getting the presents opened. You've had maybe your Christmas breakfast. You put in the roast beast, whatever. You sit down. You're going to go, all right, I got football starting at 1. And by the way, Lima, I agree with you about the NBA over the NFL on Christmas Day, and we could talk about that another time. But I think most of America, most people in Northeast Ohio, most people who consider themselves Cavs fans, and the NFL starts at 1, maybe I'll watch the 4 o'clock game or whatever. Let's put the Cavs on. Oh, I know, we've struggled a little bit here, but you know what? It's Christmas Day, and they're playing the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. And that game starts at when? Noon, right, Tone? Noon on Christmas Day. And they're going to turn that game on. And I'm at home. By the way, I didn't even realize we're hosting next Thursday. We're having the family in, so I'll be right there at home. I thought I'd have trouble over the remote. It's going to be my TV from Extend. It's going to be my remote from Extend, so I'm picking. And I think the majority in Northeast Ohio is going to click into that Cavs game. And if they go out there and they get ran off the floor on Christmas Day and Mike Breen or whoever's calling the game on ESPN, and they're going, man, this is just not the same Cavs team as what it was last year, and Evan Mobley ain't out there, and you're looking for answers, I think there's going to be hell to pay. I think Dan's going to see it. I think he ain't going to be happy. And I think that, probably Kenny Atkinson might end up as a sacrificial lamb because I don't know if he's going to get fired on Friday, but I think he might end up as a sacrificial lamb in front of it. But I think that's when a lot of people are going to go, what the F is going on with this basketball team
Well,
here?
it's also the easiest thing to do in sports is to fire an NBA basketball coach, and it's been the easiest thing to do.
But I'm not going to be fooled by it. You're not going to fool me here. You can fire Kenny Atkinson all you want. I'm looking at the guys in the uniforms.
But that's why it's easy, because they can't change the men in the uniforms.
Then I got to look at the guy who put the roster together. Sorry, go ahead.
I know. I understand that. And that all could be coming down. That all could be. This is how quickly things can escalate in that league. Because you think about, like, coming into the season, I just assumed, and I told everybody, I'm like, we're going to bludgeon teams all year because we bring everybody back. All these other teams are going to be getting their bearings. We have this obvious talent advantage. And even if we will have mail-it-in wins, that hasn't happened at all. Because it seemed like overnight, the style of play in the NBA changed. You know, you've got so many teams with shooters at all sizes, all big sizes. We don't have that. You know, other teams, you see on a nightly basis, teams come in and have guys that are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet, shooting threes. We have Evan Mobley, and that's it, and he hasn't shot it well, although he had played better in the lead up to his injury, and now he's out for an extended period of time. Darius Garland has been snake-bitten with the injuries, and he is just not remotely the same player when he's not right with his feet, and he's not going to get right this year, because the only thing that makes this better is rest. And guess what? We don't have time for it now.
You got time for rest. No rest for the weary.
So they also have an effort issue right now. And I think they have an effort issue not because of the players. The players are the same players as last year. I think the effort issue is they are getting blitzed on a nightly basis, and they know they don't have reinforcements coming outside of Max Strus and Sam Merrill, and that's just not going to be enough. So I think they are.
Get ready for baseball season. Yeah, the season's a wash.
I think they are down. They've gotten down. The messaging very quickly can erode in that league. It can happen in any league, but the way these guys are, around Atkinson, I think a lot of the things Atkinson did last year, I think they just expected to roll out the balls and have that resurface, and they forget the rest of the league is hungry. These other teams are hungry, and they're all changing their style of play. We're not really. In fact, we're shooting more threes. We're making less. Like, none of it is jiving right now, and I think Dan Gilbert could be in a spot where he just looks and says, well, I can't change the roster given the second apron, all those limitations, so what I can do is just change the coach. So I do not think it's out of the realm of possibility at all that if this thing continues to sputter like this, think about it. They've already had their players-only meeting. They've already had their grueling film session. They've had all of those things that you throw it against the wall and see if it sticks, and it's gotten worse.
Can you hire a current interim head coach as your current head coach, as your full-time head coach? What
do you mean?
James Borrego is the current interim head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans, correct? Correct. Could you go, hey, we want to make him our full-time head coach? Could you do something like that?
I think they would just promote Johnny Bryant.
Now, could we bring back The Voice?
Ooh.
If he were not the head coach. You remember that? Who the hell was that?
He could be our version of who's Joe Thomas's head coach that would just come in for the bowl games? Barry Alvarez?
That was Barry Alvarez. But no, we had a different... Who was The Voice? You remember he wasn't the head coach. He was The Voice.
I could see his face. Not Larry Drew, was it?
I think it was Larry Drew. It was Larry Drew. Thank you. He was the voice. He didn't want to be called the head coach because they were having contract things. He was the voice.
The Voice.
Incredible. So you're at Code Red.
So you said, the season's just a wash.
That was being facetious.
I mean, I'd still look. The Eastern Conference, it seems wide open. I will say this: I'm picking the Knicks in a series against us, no matter what.
Well, I think a lot of people are.
But I said that before the season, and now it's even been more reinforced. Detroit. Can you imagine if we lost to JB Bickerstaff in Detroit in a series? Can you imagine?
Yeah, Dan Gilbert would lose his mind, and then that'd be the end of it.
Yeah, that's not just you lose your coach. That is a top to bottom. And I do wonder, guys, next year is a pretty big Donovan Mitchell year. Do you know why that is?
Why?
Because the following year is a player option year, meaning next year is a free agency year for Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell, this is the worst performing team he's ever been on by the numbers. It is. That is a fact. He's never been on a worse performing basketball team in his career, including his rookie year. Look at it. Go back to the Jazz years. This is the worst. So we know what happened at the end of the Utah run. He did it in a very professional manner, but he basically told the people that needed to be told, hey, I'd like out. I would like out. I'm not going to make it a big public display because I'm not that kind of guy, but I'd like to, this is not going to happen here. I'm not going to re-sign here. Guys, that's going to happen here. That's going to happen.
Okay.
Here.
So when would that happen?
I'm saying next.
Were you saying it's a possibility this summer or the summer after? You're saying
maybe it would be this summer.
Okay, well,
how
if it's
are they
this summer,
getting better?
Then I think a lot of people by the end of this time. I mean, it's been 3 great years. I think a lot of people would go fine. To hell with it. If it ain't going to go where it needs to go, then we got to take it where it needs to go.
Match it on Evan Mobley's timeline, not.
No,
the Donovan Mitchell
I think a lot of people would be open to moving on from Evan Mobley. I think by the end of you're talking about the end of this year. If this year's going to where a lot of people think it's going to go, then
I'm moving on from both of them.
I think. Stay with me for a second here. Do you or do you not believe that this year is going to end in disappointment as of right now?
Yes.
So I think a lot of people have been waiting for us to go rip it on Evan Mobley, or they've been saying, I'm full of it. Ken, you don't see it because you're hoping instead of actually planning for it. And I think a lot of people are going, fine, let's just retool this whole thing. Go out and get your picks, and let's just go out there and redo it the way it's supposed to be done. Because even with Evan, and I'll tell you this, even with Evan, and I don't necessarily think this way right now, but I'm going to tell you, even with Evan, you're a step behind. Until he gets to where he needs to go, your franchise is a step behind. You're always behind everyone else. You're always later than everybody else. You're always behind them. Big men, you were early to it, then you were later to it. But then you just ended up later to everything. The 3-point game. I told you yesterday, you agreed with me. This is a team that is fashioned in the same way like a Golden State Warriors basketball team would have been in the mid-2010s. Like, that's what this team is. And it's not the way that it's done anymore. And by the way, you don't have the same type of players right now because you got injuries, and some of these guys just ain't going to get any better from those injuries.
And they're not...
Lonzo Ball can't drive the lane. He can't run. He has to shoot. That's why the green light's on, because he has to shoot.
It sounds crazy, like this kind of happened overnight. they already had the issue of not being that athletic, not being that long. Now they just don't even seem as skilled because skilled teams can shoot
so
it.
now you're telling me my basketball team sucks.
But last year I would have never said that. Last year, and this is, obviously when they had a little bit of a different roster, little bit different. It's hard to believe that losing Ty Jerome would be all that. But remember, they had Karis LeVert up until the trade deadline. DeAndre Hunter has been a disappointment, and they used their last remaining assets to go get DeAndre Hunter. And now DeAndre Hunter is getting benched, and he looked like he wanted nothing to do with being on that floor last night.
I don't like talking like this.
You think I like it?
It just sounds like the walls are caving in
I'm the
on our
guy that
favorite
was
team.
yelling at Owen,
like
3 weeks ago saying, come on, the Cavs are fun. No, they are not.
It could have been the second worst move in Browns history. Almost. And I have the final coup de grace of that coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan. K&K Heating and Cooling. Your
off and run, but a guy threw a beautiful deep ball, which right now, Shedeur Sanders, that deep ball is a thing of beauty. Jeff Blake, he threw the most beautiful, cascading into the clouds, into the heavens, and coming down. And I just remember beautiful deep ball. Because right now, Shedeur throws a beautiful deep ball.
Jeff Blake?
Yeah. Why do you think it's bad?
I don't think it's bad.
How many years is?
Jeez, that's in the weeds.
Yeah.
Hi.
Was it in the weeds?
It was in the weeds.
Was it in the weeds, or had someone been lying to us and acted like they just made this up?
Oh, come on.
Oh, because here we are in 2018 on Overtime, a little show that I watched about 3 episodes of while you were interviewing Joe Varden. And there he is.
What?
Jeff Blake, Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders, all together, courtesy of Overtime.
Austin, Texas, and training with Coach Jeff Blake.
Jeff Blake is the best quarterback coach in the nation.
Turn, move, the outside linebacker, move. Set, move, hit, throw. The power comes from your legs. I keep trying to tell you that.
I'm gonna spend my free time with Coach Jeff because it's simple. I just want to be great.
So did you see that and then you just decided to use it on your own?
So,
Say, Jeff Blake, because you knew you would blow my doors off?
Let me cut you off before we go all there. You know,
cut me
maybe
off.
I thought the same thing. Maybe he just saw it, and Anthony's the first guy in Cleveland to figure it out. He put 2 and 2 together. He said, I'll say Jeff Blake.
I don't believe him at all.
Yeah, well, you know who else put 2 and 2 together? Back in May, when he was interviewing him for the Cleveland Browns on Browns.com, one of the voices of the Browns, Nathan Zagura.
So one thing, when I was watching you have a great deep ball. And it reminded me of Jeff Blake, because you throw some of those with a beautiful arc up there. And then I was doing some background on you. He was kind of like your mentor when you decided to be a quarterback. First of all, how did that come to be? And is that why you have, I think you do have kind of that Jeff Blake style deep ball?
Yeah, he definitely started me out when I was younger, just getting adapted to the quarterback and understand what it really takes to be a quarterback. So that was really the foundation. That was the base of it.
That audio from the Browns, but then, stolen by some TikTok video and
then stolen by me.
Yeah, and then stolen by
it's funny.
Anthony, and then I stole it.
So it is funny. There is a chance I absolutely watched that video, and sometimes something seeps in, and then you think you've come up with something totally original. I don't remember specifically watching that, but that could be. That could definitely happen.
You've mentioned before, you get home now, and at a certain time of the day, your YouTube TV knows, hey, it's Browns time for Anthony Lima. Let me put some Browns content up for you on the This Is What's Trending page. So maybe you did run it across. I wouldn't have thought of it. I wouldn't have remembered it.
Unbelievable.
But absolutely. And if you've got the time, you go back and look, there's about 2 minutes with Jeff Blake in one of those episodes where they're just talking about the different things that he has to do at quarterback. But he totally brings up, Jeff Blake says he was an undersized quarterback. He had to stick out, so they couldn't. He worked on his deep ball, and he was teaching Shedeur that. I mean, Shedeur was like 16 in that video.
Wow, it's amazing. Yeah. It is amazing because I will forever remember those. I said 2 years,
nuts.
Jeff Blake, but you pointed out he actually played for a bunch of years.
He had 8 seasons where he had over 2,000 yards. Now they were like 2,200 yards, things like that, because he only got to start 7 games maybe that season. Only 2 seasons where he started all 16. Steve Young, he's in the Hall of Fame, right? Jeff Blake did it 8 times. Steve Young only did it 9 times. Troy Aikman only did it 10 times. Now, they had much more yards when they were going over the 2,000, but the guy threw for over 20,000 yards in his career.
That's a way to get his attention because he's too busy doing his charts to actually pay attention to the show anymore.
Well,
you and your stupid charts.
I've run into some problems.
Stop doing the charts. Stop it.
What do you got now?
I have a graphic that I'll be unveiling later today about coaches that have been dismissed not that long after winning Coach of the Year.
It's on that computer over there. You can't do it.
That's true.
Once I go
home.
If
you don't get it
once you go home,
the next
it's over.
10 and a half minutes.
Yeah. Well, that means we've lost him for the rest of the show.
Great.
What's your chart about?
About coaches that have been dismissed in the NBA not too long after winning Coach of the Year. Now, why would I ask such a question?
Well, Kenny Atkinson.
He did win Coach of the Year, didn't he?
Yeah.
We're the home of Coach of the Year.
Social media reactions on X and
Those
everything
are,
else?
of course, brought to you by Scheib & Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
I clicked on the internet during the break, and I go, why do I got a bunch of replies? We were talking Cavs, but we didn't say anything that controversial. At least I didn't think so. And I go, oh boy, I wonder what this is. And Dennis wrote, if your first name starts with K-E, you're on the hot seat in Cleveland. I went, oh boy. And so it's just a bunch of tweets at me right now.
Oh boy. Nice. Cole
picked it up, everything. How will you respond?
You hear that, Keith Britton?
Fair point. I'm always on the hot seat. I live my life on the hot seat. I'm Jim Fossil every single day. Every day I'm pushing my chips in, going, we're going to the playoffs. That's how this works. So I'm comfortable with it. There's nothing to the pressure on me. This could have been the worst trade ever in the history of Cleveland sports. No, it could have been the second worst trade ever. I beg your pardon. Because any way I slice it, it wouldn't have been as bad as how Deshaun Watson's worked out. Not all of it's his fault. We discussed that yesterday. But it could have been it could have been the second worst trade ever. A.J. McCarron, did you see what he did yesterday?
No.
He ended his bid to be Alabama lieutenant governor.
What ended it?
He announced Wednesday he's ending his campaign. He wants to pursue sports-related opportunity. Said, football is calling my name once again. Comes after his bid, 2 months after he announced his bid for the office. Quote, football is my passion. This is courtesy ESPN. Football is my passion. My football position will require the same 100% focus, commitment, and attention that I was prepared to give the office of lieutenant governor. So it's time to end my campaign, McCarron said. Lend the Crimson Tide to back-to-back championships, played for the Bengals, everything, and then that's the end of it.
You know what happened.
What?
He missed the deadline.
I don't think he missed the deadline. It said 2 months earlier he was able to do it. So there's no deadline in there.
No.
What's the deadline?
He missed the deadline. A.J. McCarron tried to fax in.
You idiot.
And he missed the deadline.
Stop looking at your... see, this is what you get when you're trying to catch up with the story and you were looking at your charts.
I think Ken just didn't get the joke when I first said it.
I did. I actually didn't get your joke. I'm sorry.
A famous show moment.
It was.
Would he have won a game to avoid the 0-16 and the humiliation?
It wasn't worth trading a second and a third round pick to win a game to avoid the humiliation. I'll tell you that right now.
I love this. Our greatest hits. We jumped right back into an argument from what year was that?
2017.
Oh my God. What other argument? Were the Browns tanking? Way back then?
As an organization?
4-0 preseason.
Well,
we
no,
played the holiday hits.
I'm not going to say yes because that could be used against me in a court of law with Hugh Jackson. So I'm not going to say yes. I want to be deposed.
With defense counsel Dave Lapham.
Would Kyle Shanahan get drafted ahead of Myles Garrett if there was a draft of coaches and players all in the same pool?
That was a good
I remember
one.
that argument. That was awesome.
I
want to bring it back.
I still think I'm winning that argument. Look at who he's winning with. Now he has injuries all over the defense and they're winning games.
Remember that. If Shedeur can't play well over the next 3 weeks, guess what we're doing? Would you rather draft the best coach or Fernando Mendoza? 216-474-0092. You want to hack? We'll hack it up.
Holiday hack, baby.
Yep.
Thank you for paying
Have a great day.
attention
Oh,
and making
podcast,
sure
10:15
that you're
Eastern,
not doing
92.3 The
what you
Fan
clap.
Extra on the free Odyssey app. Bye. Hey.
Sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?